Man, I thank God that I'm here, and this is my first time to be in the UK, and the timing of the Lord is the best. I know this is the first time also I'm recording my testimony.
Solo in video nye kikome nye kiloni James Kawalia. Yes, akekani ngatiani aki Nigeria, actually be annually remunerated repair kimi Nigeria, Ghana, Nigeria. So owero watuju nying laditi teteketie piene. Laditi ting atma aki Buganda region. Yes, aminu ikabiru moma kiloni Masaka. Nye kiloni James Kawalia and benetika wani titiene mea chiela metieto lokeni ni matut polkareno biruka mogone ikanicha mapapat ento wajo wiye so ineno matini lo in video and bena joli totally in ma pe binyang lemono we kolutu wa bigi kare me winyo ni karachel we kin beni ne e bigi kare menyang ngoma tika teme kilobo mukane atutwali maguru wana. Okay, so that is ngomatie and anajuli matek memu wabicheruka winyo lokpa James Kawalia makobini nitela kwat ti and intercessor koni wa winyo kita intiro kile titles mamege
In his fullest, must have been sharing in different platforms, but this is the first time I'm sitting in a recording to share my life testimony. So I thank God for this opportunity, and oftentimes when I'm sharing my testimony, it's like I'm going back through those experiences. I need a grace. Sometimes the pain returns, the pain of the thing that I went through. But I thank God that now, after many years, now it's 23 years since I gave my life to Jesus Christ.
Wow.
And the 23 years has been amazing.
So low in video, la diti tika waini donga ti mwaka piara rio wia dek kade meru piene nini ya mwaka piara rio wia dek ani chake ama enomio ama kuone bot Yesu Kristo ni chake ma eno lare kede dong ti mwaka piara rio wia dek kidong bere low in video enweni polkarika tika tiro onyo tika moko chaden pero low in video ma en karki eneni biruki kare me poi kom Jimmy unyute kare ma eno karki machamu kene wero bene kele koro charo tamo Jimmy mapol but enweni mwaga piene riu ya dek uluto don ko birini tiki tek twin money ramo loko gi moiken and biduma bay ni chake ma eno lare.
Seen the goodness of God, and also as we start this journey, I want to tell the people that the purpose is to glorify Jesus. No.
So low in video and benetika waini tien lock mawero and tika mocha den and in low in video tie medwa hodeyo borloba. Okay, yes a peme iluke pachatan but tie medwa hodeyo borloba kedong bane bikare mwaka piara rio ya dekanoni eno birugi kare meneno be paluba maduong ikwane
the devil, not what the devil can do or what he has done, but at the end of the day Jesus is the winner.
Yes.
So that's why. So I'm glad that I'm here.
I'm so excited to have you here in Manchester because as we go into the details of your testimony, I'm going to be asking you questions about, things that have happened in your past. And as you share them, there'll be things that, I'm sure lots of people may not even understand because we have lots of people watching. People from African backgrounds may be able to relate. Some of you watching are from Western backgrounds and you might not understand some of the depth of the occult. In fact, some of these things will blow your mind when you hear, the depth to which people engage in dark activities. But I know, just as James said, God is going to use this to glorify his name. And I also want to point this out before we go into this testimony, that right now you're a pastor. You lead a church in Uganda and you're used in incredible ways by God in deliverance ministry, miracles and God moving. In fact, primarily you're an intercessor. You're used in strategic. Do you just want to just give us an idea of some of the things you do right now?
I am leading a ministry called Lifeway Institute of Deliverance.
So, in video, Meno Pastor James Kawalia. en tie ng'at ma ki Uganda kany kiti winya wajo kerin ki kabiru muma kiloni Masaka en weni en telo kanicha makiloni Lightway. Okay, let me repeat it again.
Pastor in the church. We all
James Kawaya from Uganda.
Amiruni wabegi Carmen yang Jimmy Weng kore in video, so I don't want us to skip anything.
You
okay.
Lead a church.
Amiruni wabegi Carmen yang Jimmy Weng kore
Street.
without skipping anything.
Primary.
Okay.
Intercessor. You're using
So
strategic.
I want us to
Give us an idea of
follow.
what you do right now.
I am leading a ministry called Lifeway Institute of Deliverance.
Yes, and telo kanicha makiloni Lifeway Institute of Deliverance. Okay, na mironi dano bigi karme winyu kenyo Lifeway Institute of Deliverance. Yenuni aye kanicha ma entiga telo ne ke Uganda kaini.
What we do and what God has called me to do is to strategically train intercessors in the to pray and take over territories for God.
And totally mission ma entiga loving video and aye me fonyo lubak dog loving video.
So mostly I'm not pastoring the church, though I started the church.
And benetika waini enti peti pastor me kanicha eoni. Ento ena yuchaho kanicha eoni.
We are having other pastors pastoring the church. We are
Tie lukwedi mukene matika telo kanicha.
also Christian television station in Uganda, Worship Television.
Gitiki TV station bene makiluoni Worship Television.
Just for worship and prayer. One of the things the Lord told
Yes, amenu television matie pilega kiwara.
me to do after encountering Jesus and seeing the power of prayer. By the way, I knew the power of prayer before I became born again.
En waini eno birigi kare meniang tego melega mano food bene polare.
Like encountering people praying and wondering what kind of lives are they. One example, maybe to bring it out, is I was still in the occult, and I was in the city in Kampala, and I remember I got instruction from our leaders to vacate the city and stay away 70 miles away from the city and remove all our operations because a man of God was coming in the city.
So now let me video and take a me explanation totally makwaro lok moini eno ngeyo tero palega mano food bene polare en weni ikare mano enti Kampala mano enti Timu and teacher jock mano enti Kampala kare mo ki birigi kare me mi rukcha bodgini o ao ki Kampala Kenyu. Yes, o worry o our distance maromo kilometers piara biro pien la tich paluba moni tie matika binu tiki tero madit. So kiriemo giki down pien la tich paluba moni atika binu ikare enoni.
I told that if we stay in the city where that man is, his prayer would kill us all convert us.
Kidong bene kibirigi kare me wachani kaunu kwero winyo lok matie chu gako kenyu po ao kidi city Kampala la tich paluba eoni mo bibino ni tiki tero paluba makachi o donyo idi city leganeni o bibirigi kare meneko teka jo weng matikango mafud gudonyo itim jok.
And I remember the instruction was stay out of the city 70 miles away.
Wow.
But also do not enter the city even 21 days.
Kimio order nigo aki the city Kampala 70 miles penny kilometers ba 70 miles away. Okay, obed chien ki city pobet chok 70 miles piara biro kidong beni kao vidugu the city Kampala ko bed kong oloto pineno piara rio wiachel yakado dugi idi Kampala
After he has left. So I was still in the occult and I was like, what kind of power is this? Because I knew the power. I knew Satan. I knew I had been all in these kind of powers. But then we were being warned not be around that man's where he is in the city. That man was Maurice Cerullo. So he was coming in the city, and I remember we were told, stay out of the city 70 miles away and do not enter the city another 21
That's
days.
incredible.
Because even after 21 days, his power, the effect of his power remains in the atmosphere after 21 days he has been in the city.
So enoni hayelo patielo in video yes ngatini matimo kucha denti waini kare enoni pienenti kamio example pingenti waini o chago ngeyo tego paloba mano food bene po ye Yesu Kristo chao lalane. So kare enoni mano enti Kampala la kwat moma kiloni Maurice Cerullo notika binu hi Kampala. So la ditgi o golo order ni un mafuru donyo i cult onyo furu chako tim joke ka oberu di town Kenyu nyu di Kampala ubita opien la tich paluba matika binu kitero madit tika donyi di city Kampala. So oneni o ao ki Kampala distance miles makar actually maromo piara biro miles maromo piara biro. And then also ka obi dugi di town Kampala o dugi ingenino piara rio ya chiel mano la kwat enoni do ao ki Kampala.
I knew the power of prayer. So when I came to Christ, the Lord was telling me, okay, you have seen the mistakes, the errors, because one of the work I was doing before I came to Christ was fighting churches and breaking churches. And the Lord was saying, now, you know how you broke these churches, and you know what were the errors and the mistakes and the weaknesses. So can you train an army of intercessors all over the world?
So, la video maeno lare message mere maluba mine ene ye me binu ka fonyo lotich paluba tutwale iyo me waro kidwa deyo boluba pian en ikare mano enti timutim joki mano enti agenti pachatan no en lwenyi kom kanicha kidong mission mukena bene no tieme toru kanicha
to bring out to stand and take territories.
Wow.
So we are working with nations like Sri Lanka. We have work in Sri Lanka, I work in Singapore, I work in Botswana.
Yes, amenu kama jang kanicha mamege tiye kama initi winyotika wajo logo mapapati.
I work in Gabon and a few places where I've been doing.
You've been in Europe to a few places as well.
We're having a work in Munich. We're doing a great work in Munich to raise intercessors and train young people to intercede, and then they take over the nations in prayer. So one of my calling, people call me apostle, others pastor, but
yes, luo maluba luo kede dano mukene luo ni apostle, jo mukene giluo ni pastor.
my call is an intercessor.
Ento kitung bore en luonge ni intercessor la back dog.
That's
Right.
so I don't know if you can call me intercessor James.
I like that. I like that. So now let's go back to the beginning. What are the earliest memories you have?
Now, la win video kom lockdown tikany maka individualo karani me winyo lokenini legana tieni hibera lat. Tiani obedu introduction anangioni olutodong itiki ngech ikom ngama ini tika winyo duane tila la kwat mati besti Kampala and obiru ka tiu teach pa jok pikar malach and nye James Kawalia and kobirini kama intika loki yeni onyo kama wati winyo duane ki yeni tiwa Manchester. So pira taktutwal la win video in me winyo loki nini wekolutu ufonyiki jemi mapola pina ngeyoni chamu kene ina mobiru mano iteka karo kite kare ento kita jemi no chake kire no pingeo uluto ibibiru ki karme no answers ki kany. So mwaka piara rio ya dek ye en donko birin tekiri lare and before onyomano food en polare no jemi ni pe yotutwal kidong bene eno ngeo teko paluba bene eno miyo example gin mowero eno ng'eyo tego paluba iya chakine okay mano food po ye Yesu Kristo chala lane pien kigolo oda kare enoni ni o ao kidi town Kampala o jet o bedbo kidi city miles piara biro kidong bene kao bidugu la tich paluba makiloni moriserulo o bibini di town but kabeno bidugi di Kampala o dugi inge nino piara riyo chel madung o tiago adong kidi town Kampala so la win video ko birini enoni o biru yiye wabichero don ka jako winyu loke kore ki kore kita perone o chake kere kama eno waro ki ye ngomo wero eno donyo itim jok ngomo timegi kome o wera waini loke ni ka eni bi jiu chwinyi wabi biru ki kar me winyu ne kadong matiri loyo ubi biru ni nario bato maro tero ni na dek so le gana tieni wachak dong winyu lokini ni kore ka che gwok mogono tiki kalam meta wani ramu choyo jemi mukene it is okay but that is what I have for you tonight man hope through the night long video chel nora ngwento na chela favor a fama
my memory when I was around 3 years
la winjvideo kita enpo kere ikarema no enti mwaga adek
I realized in my home I was living with my mom and my uncle, the brother to my mom, and no one else.
Yeah, kare enoni no en bedo kimine kiken kidong bene amaneru ne. Okay? So en bene no tipenye kikene pingone tikumano. Mwaga dek wone pere dano mukene bene pere unyulu megine kiyo megine mukene en no pengeo pingo giti gina deke kene igang kenyo en kimine kineru.
And it was strange because I was wondering why other people don't come to our home. Later I realized that when I was 3 months old, my father and my sisters left the home.
Kidong bene eno bedo ka penye ke kena ni pingo dano mo kene pe bino gang kenyo iti wo bedo mere gina dek en neru kidong mine so kita eno nyankede e kare mano enti dueba no fud ki nyala ena ye lok mo polo chero chotime wa win kan ngom kikome motime kare enoni
and did not return because of the strange things that were happening in the house, in the home. Now,
Lunyoro chalo waneki lumegine go a kigang ikarmano enti dua dek. And enoni oberupien no town mogo cha time ikarmano en futiri. Tang angoni la win video wa win.
I don't know what happened, the strange things.
En bene pengyo ngomo timegi come town mene mo timeni en bene pengyo.
I didn't see unless
PNN bene poneno.
When my mother told me my story.
And to mene hayobiro katete.
But when I was 3 years, the event that I can remember is the death of my uncle.
Ginma en po mabe eni karimano enti mwaga dek ne rumamege kuone odwenye kare enoni.
When I began now my initiation into witchcraft, when I was 3 years.
Madong ikare enoni endo chako donyo tim jok mwagadek.
Let's to come back to the death of your uncle, but before we come back to that, can you tell us what happened before you were born? Because this is really critical part of understanding your journey. Give us an idea of what was going on with your mom and a marriage and her desperation to have a son that laid the foundation for you to come into this world.
La deti la winjwedio tika penye ni kongwa wek loka topa ne rumamigini kongwa wadok chen kongwa niang mabe ngoti miki kome ma otime ko mamani onyu ababani ikom family mamigi gen mo time mo weko ko bedini ama initie mo weko ama initie kita initie kereni ngoti meki kome ikare eno ni mano foot peki nyuali.
I came to hear this story when
and beneway ni chaku winyo lokini ni ba
I was around 12 years,
madong enti mwaga pa wiario
to hear the story of my birth and why I was strange.
mechako niang onyo me winyo onyo amenyang ikom lok makwaro en tutwali kita kinywale kede kidong ngomo timi ikome mawero tang mogo time ikwone ikare enoni.
Now, by the age of 12, I was already deep in the occult.
Ikare mano enti mwaga pario norong endo donyo matut itim jok.
I'd been made a trainer of witches when I was the age of 9.
Ena yeno tingat mafonyo ajwaki mano actually timwaga abungwen.
At the age of 7, I was a territorial witch in charge of a territory.
Ikare mano enti mwaga bero norong enti in charge. Ena yeno ti loyo territory meka bero mo.
I had strange powers. People
Eno tiki tiago mo pat
older than my mother could come and bow to me.
ma en chamu kene bene no I'm a bit worried pien dano ma teki ma karo ma mane mukene rompa ma mane gibinu gibinu bare
Politicians, businessmen for
politicians lutimbi achara
powers. So I kept wondering, where did I get all these powers? Where am I strange?
wengi binu bare menongo tero so en bene no penye kekene entika no tero enoni
But my
kikwane.
mother kept taking me to different witch doctors for help to be.
Mamane obedo kachwale bora jwaki mapat we kolutu kibet ki kar menongo lagam ikom pero ma entika karo kiyeni
To be delivered from those powers. But several times we could go to these places to the witch doctors, and the witch doctors could chase my mother away, claiming that when she takes me to them, I steal their powers.
enti waine ikare ma mine obedo kalonge ikenpin kanongo answer onyu kanongo lagam onyu mechao en ikoma powers onyu tero moguma enti kireni so biru kachwale ye jwaki mo pat ento kago okunu ajwaki weng biru kango kada onyu complain ni latini tika kwanyu tero gio.
So like even the witches, the sorcerers, the diviners, even they hated me because they were, this baby has strange powers.
So ajwaki weng no pe mare pien ginoni endok tiki onyo kirepat.
So my mother decided to take me to a man in Pemba. Pemba is in Tanzania, in the Indian Ocean, who was
So mine omogotame mechwale ikabiro mo makiluni Pemba menu I Tanzania I Indian Ocean
called a sultan. So in this journey,
menu I Sultan nyemoni makiluni Sultan menu I Pemba.
she said, I'm going to take you to this man, and this man is going to help you. So that's when I asked. I remember we were in Dar es Salaam, we were on the port trying to get a ferry to go to Pemba. And
So kareno ni madongi teacher about Sultana. Yes, a Sultana mati I Indian Ocean. Yes, ikabiro mo I Tanzania, ikabiro mo makiloni Pemba. So karema no giti ferry. Ununge ferry mabe. Okay. Yes, amano giti ngolo nam. Yes, amechero kama Sultan tiye. So eno biruka penyo mene la peny maduong. And kikenyo pien enti kitero mo pat koni wabi winyo enti kitero mo pat la win video metimu gimo iken mene do chako bako doge bot en mi reporte mistake mo iken. So meji uchunya bene obirigi kar bene metiete ngote meki kome pingo enti kitero madok kirepat.
ask her, but mom, tell me something. Why am I strange? And I could see when I remember I looked at my mother and like, this time she was desperate to tell me and say, please.
So eno biru gi kare mi pinyo miene hi kare eno ni pingo ando kirapat. So en beno neno face pa mamane cho neno ni miene anen chalo dong ti ready onyo tiki miri moni metete ngoti meki kome.
Can you not interfere with where we're going?
So miene doko golo order onyo cheke ni jal. Pedak ibal what wani.
Can we please don't interfere? So like to convince me not to
please timbe pay bal what wani.
Interfere my powers, the power I had as a boy, for where we're going. So she had to tell me the story of my life.
So mine no luoro ni kitero ma latin netikere ni obibalo water to bitiu kitero neni me balo water. So kiloke no ni mine do chako tiete ngoti meki kome pingo latin neni kire dok pat pingo tikitero ma diet ma wero bena jwaki mukene luoro en gidege and gibiru ka complaining ni endo ka kichwalo bodgi kwanyo powers gio.
How she ended up in this. So this is what she tells me.
So mene dong chako tiete kita en odonyo kere I situation ma gingiti yeni mene do wajo kumani.
She says when she got married to
ikare ma eno nyome,
the reason she married my father
tien lok mo wero eno nyome about one and
because her father had died and her father was a rich chief.
Pien en one pamieneni nuduta and en unyubabani madetri no tingarumo muloin. He was a chief
and she was the only daughter and she had a brother, my uncle then. And when her father died, she says she knew the family in Africa. Most times the family would take over every property, so she needed protection. So by the grace of God, she says, at the time when her father died and she's desperate, she's just a young lady, then my father started dating her. And my father, coming from a prominent family, a very known family and very strong, she thought this man, if he marries her, she'll get protection. So she gets into the family. Now my father also was marrying her because he had been told he needed to find a young girl, marry early, and get as many children as possible. Because my father, being a son of a chief, son of like a prime minister, he was the only son. The brother had died. He had 7 sisters, the only son. So they were like, now you need to get a woman, get children, and raise a heir for the throne, like the chiefdom.
So, anything when you look at it dong story ne tika binu kere la win video. Ageno ni itika lubune kware. Yeah, la deti tika tirone. Miene actually no onyo babani madit no don kwone orwen. Otenyo miene kidong en neru nene. So miene no timiro lutu ngata gwake. No timiro protection inoni. And then ena edong kare enoni mano enti katamo kamano enramono gwake mabe wone edong uchero chulo kere ma lo kere wone bene no tiki pero mamege wone no ti a Latin pa prime minister lo and no dong ti en kene and wone bene no ruenyo babane so ya gikine anti Latina chele ken matia wobi, okay, and no tiki lumegine maroma beer. So en bene ki wacheni in mirinong ulutu ngarumo madok pote kitutwal mainra mo biru kirichalo la cho kidaro. So ena do biru gikare merwate ki min la kwate ni matiloki. So ki kenyo dong obviously lok madwong oberutie lawin radio.
So he marries for the purpose of getting a son.
So nyeri bene onyo wone nyomo mine Kitien Lock menongo Latin awobi. Okay? Kitien Lock menongo Latin awobi pian ngeo wane tiamulon. He's the son of a prime minister. And alumegine wang tia lumegine abero enti Latin awobi chiliken. So wane ni nyomo mene menongo Latin awobi. And
when she married, my father and my mother married. She gave birth. The first child was a girl.
So, mamiene ki wane gu chako biro karachel. Yes, obviously, gunywalo Latin achel. Yes, obiru Latin me achel obiru nyaro.
The second child, also a girl.
Latin Mario ben obiru nyaro.
The third child, also a girl.
Latin me adek ben obiru nyaro.
Now, by the fourth child, the entire family, the chiefs, the tribe, they're all like, this woman is a West.
So, madongo nywalo Latin me angwen anyara. Latin nyaro me angwen. Yes, kara kidano weng relatives angagini weng guchako ngo. Nguru kenyo guchako complain ni anenchalo gubalo limo. Yes, pien lamigo makinyomoni tinywalo lutina nyira kiken tina wobi mo kiken maunywalo peke.
Because in my tribe, if you have only girls, they say you don't have children.
Ikarane kadongini tiki anyira kiken roma ni ipeki lutina.
Wow.
So they wanted her hair. So in desperation, she tried to, she went different witch doctors in different parts of the nation. And so she went, they told her, we're going to help you conceive. Then she conceived the fifth child.
So, kimirime nywalo Latina wobi. Kimirime nywalo Latina wobi. Mene o wori kabiru pat. Boda jwaki pat. And again weng, kita choko chwiny maino biru kano kere, ni obi biru ki karmi nywalo Latina wobi. But unfortunately, madong ogamo ich dogo nywalo Latin me a beach. Latin nyaro bene.
Who was now also a girl. She went on different witch doctors, different
Omete ki wori kin piny boda jwaki pat.
altars, different and also she conceived again a sixth child, also a girl.
Doko gamo ich la winjwedio. Onywalo Latin nyaro me abichel bene. Latin nyaro.
And she tells me that she was so desperate because she knew if she can't get a son, she will lose the marriage.
So, no miene chunye pe yoma. Piendong tinywalo lutina nyira kiken. And obiro gatete ni kareoni no chunye chui makachi ponywalo Latina wobi manyuru ni ote bene no pobi biro mabe. Okay? So,
And now her life will be wasted. Though at that time, she told me that someone told her that there is someone who can help.
so ikare enoni madong enti yenyo kony kit menywalo Latina wobi. Ngarumo okwile chowaini kibibiro kikare menyute onyu mechwale onyu mechwale bod ngarumo lutomo buwero eno binywalo Latin awobi.
Help her conceive a son. She had gone to all kinds of altars in Uganda and outside Uganda. She had
Miene no do wari kin piny. Uganda kan kikabiro mukene kiwaro kun chero bota jwaki pat me yenyo ket menywalo Latina wobi.
traveled different parts and gave different sacrifices. She had the money. She could sell her properties to travel different places to help her conceive.
O tiyu ki jami mapolo charo jami ne tiyu ki chene tiyu wekolo tu obed ki kare menongo Latina wobi.
So on this particular journey where she went, she was told to go to a forest in Tanzania.
So ikabero enini maeno cheri eni kiwacheni ocheri divua kamo i Tanzania.
There's a place in Tanzania, northern Tanzania. There was a
Ikumalo me Tanzania. Idivua ikumalo me Tanzania.
So she went there and she realized that when she arrived at the place, they told her she had to undress and live in the forest for 7 days.
So ikare ma eno chero I divua kenyo ikumalo me Tanzania. Kiwache ni miro bed monero, miro lunybone, bed ludok, anu bed pinina bero, I divua kenyo la bon rugo gimoiken.
Going through cleansing.
Wow.
Before she appears before the person to help her. Now, before I want...
So eno ni beru chalo yo me yugo en wekolo to be ki karme rwate ki ngat chani ma enti chero weko be gi karme onyo boda jwaga weko be gi karme nongo kony menywalo latina wobi so ki mine oda onyo rukcha ni mafut pe chero kunu mi di bet gi kare melunyu boni I dong monero labo no pero gi moiken and then mi di bet ni na biro I divua kenyo until kadong ibibiru gikare meneno ngat me miro neno ne.
There's something I want us to note here, that was the king of darkness, but they understand the principle of consecration and cleansing.
Yeah.
Now I understand after. So they tell her you have to undress, stay in the forest, cold, don't eat anything cooked for 7 days.
Neno we. Nina biro enoni bene mi ripobet gikar me chamo gi moiken makitera tera.
So after the 7 days, you are clean enough to appear before this priest who was going to help her.
So ki biek pa en dano me di forest kuno di voa gengi tamane ngeni na biro no de tie maleng. Okay? No de tie maleng made tuero neo ena jwaka madetri maramo konyo. Wekeno be gikar menongo latina wobi.
So she says when she appeared after 7 days, that this priest was a woman who always lived in the forest, and she was like the chief witch of the entire continent.
So enti waini inge ni na biro eno biro gikare dong men yupe dong mechero kango kaneno ajwaka ni. Now ajwaka eoni noti ajwaka madako. Okay? Maloyo continent me I Africa. Ajwaka onyo yes, ajwaka maloyo continent me I Africa.
Because all the witch doctors,
I mean the entire country
of Africa, not continent.
Wait.
Laditi beneti penyone. Niti wa ni continent me Africa eno titamoni country. But laditi lati wa ni ko continent me I Africa. Pe country ba but continent me Africa.
She was the chief witch of the entire continent of Africa.
Chief witch ajwaga madit me continent me Africa.
Okay. So
Wow.
all the witches or the wizards or the sorcerers or the politicians, the leaders could go to her.
Dano weng chalo politicians ajwaki mapat me kabir mapat weng no gichero bore kanongo tero
for powers. So she lived in the forest, that woman, that priest, and she had only one breast, like one breast in the middle of the chest.
So all the people that
so ajwaka elni bene no beru idivua ikumalo me Tanzania ikumalo me Tanzania kidong bene no chako no ti achiele ken
went to her to see her often went through similar rituals. They have to stay in the forest for 7 days
naked.
So ni ngaru mai ken machiero kaneno ajwaga enoni wange beru ni na biro idivua mano itiemo nero kidong bene no miri pay cham gi mai ken makiteru kadong ni na biro romo yaga de chiero kaneno ajwaga
leaves and
fruits for 7 days. Wow. And then after 7 days you appear before her. That was that.
So ibiru ka chamu podeke ken kidong bene no fruits
ritual, and it was like everyone had to go through that. So there were many people there. So she said when she appeared, when she came to her, she looked at that witch, that priest looked at my mother and said, "Go away, I will not."
So maendo ngochero kaneno unyo karuate ke ajwaka enoni ajwaga madaro matiki chako achilikane mati divua ikumalo me Tanzania. Okay, ma mine ochiero karwate kede ajwaga euni oneno mine chuwaini in dokchen adegruate kedi dokchen ukwero
Help you.
pabi biruki karme konyi.
So she has been in the forest for 7 days. Now she's walking away. She said,
So mine oberu idivua pinina beru munero ando chero karwate ki ajwaga ukwero ni pobi rwate kede ama pobi konye wakodako.
is this? Now, just what she told me. She said, as she was going away,
Karmadong endo ti dokchen
looked in the sky
eno neno malo
and saw a sign, something that told her that she has a son.
mami ti dok tika ao kibora jwa oneno malo kekunu neno sign mano ti wacheni onyugi mo mano ti wacheni itiki latina wobi ibibiru gikar minywalene.
She doesn't know at all. So she walks back to the place where they register.
So en biru gikar me dok kama kichoyo dani ye mati chiaro kaneno ajwaga maditi en dok kono biru chalo reception idivua kono. So en biru gikar me dok wekolo tu obet gikar me yubo appointment mukene merwate ki me dok chen merwate ki ajwaga eoni metiro onyo me bako doge weki bet gikar me konye.
And she tells them, please, I want to go and try again. Then they tell her, but also, if you try again, you have to go again through another 7 days.
So, madong endo kono ama kapenyo tuero kidong meneno ni dok para jwagani. So, ginmaki wache mere ni kaimiro dok. Genotie fudok ibibiru nina biro no iti munero no bene pe chamo dek mo iken makitedo ento no ichamo po dek. Okay, kinyigien mapat.
Now, the 7 days she went through, and then she went another 7 days, that's 14 days. Later, I'll be sharing with you, when I was sick, my deliverance, I had to go through the same cycle of being delivered. The 7 days and another 7 days.
So, enwe ni nina biro ya chakine, dok nina biro, so eno ni wenkelo nina para ngwena. Wek eno bed gikare meneno. Ajwaga elni. So enwe ni chawa mo eno bibiru ki kare bene me mi yo explanation no metieru kita en beno karo ki nina para ngwen abiro kidoga biro wekolo tu be ki kare menongo ni gonye.
But now in the church setting.
But menu I kanicha dong pedak ni I side jwaka kuja.
Because I want to tell people that salvation is free, but deliverance is a price.
Ti winyane enti miro tiro bot luak duchu. Salvation is free. Okay? Lare ti menono pebi birugi karme chulu ama chene moiken onyo memi yogi moiken ento pero ramo biru ini gonye. Okay? Menongo ni gonye.
A price of consecration and being set apart. So she says that, so the second time, the next 7 days, she goes to appear.
So mine dong tieta ni nina biro mukene endong chiero karwate kia jwagani.
And when the priestess saw her, said, you are back.
So madong ajwaga oneno en ajwaga waini dokidugu.
You are back. Then my mother tells me, said, okay, I'm back, but you need to help me.
Mine dong waini adugu ento mirikony an.
Then this woman looks at her and says, well, I can help you, but I can see. Now, I don't know what eye they were using. I can see in the spirit you have a son. But
so, ajwaga dong gamoni aramo konyi. Benati neno ni eteke Latin awobi. Tie.
He's very far in the rocks.
It's very
tika mabu tika mabu tikin godi
far in the rock.
In the rocks. Now that's the statement of my mother. He's far in the rocks.
latina ubi one tika mabu ikin got kuno
And there is a strange star on him.
kidong bene tila kala tue mo ikom latin enoni
If I bring him out,
ka kelo latin enoni waro
he will be a problem to our powers.
obibiru pero ikom teroa.
The only thing I can do, if you can offer sacrifices,
Gin mara mo timune onyo ajwaka dong logoba ni gin ma enda mo timune ena ye kachi mene tuero mio onyo tiero olutu jami mogo.
but also if you can accept the condition we shall give you. So my mother asked, what sacrifice?
Kidong bene mene miru ye ngoma kibi wache mene dong penyo ni ngoma kikome kimiro
They told I have to give 7 cows for 9 months.
kidong kiwache ni miribed kikarme mio dien abiro pi due maroma bungwena
That is 63 cows.
menu dien piara bicheli wiangwena
The sacrifice.
menu metiaro ne bojok
Then say, okay, I'll do that. You know,
mene dong weni pegumope abitimo
oh, because she was desperate and she had the means.
so en no tiki mirme no latin wobi so yo gire no tie made tuolo ko chene ko ngoni no pepero
Then they tell her, okay,
7 cows every month for 9 months.
for 9 months. That is 63.
yaga donki wache ni dien ya bero pe due abungwen makelo dien piara bichili wiangwen
So then the other condition was, okay, if you conceive and give birth,
kidong bene lok mukene no tie ni tekadong eni nywa
this is a boy.
ketekadong eni nywal and latina no ni ti latina wobi
You promise you will offer him to that woman, the princess, as a husband.
kidong bene ka eni nywal latin and kinoni ti latina wobi ikwonge mediaro ne onyome miyo ne bot ajwaka enoni mati divua tiki chako achili kene
She didn't know what it means. She didn't know what it meant. First tells me she didn't know that it was that. And then they told her,
so
okay,
en bene pungeo ngoma kitika wajo ne onyo meaning ento en mere mire ne notie menongo latin la chomo
when you give birth, you must bring that child to the forest before the end of the first day.
so ket me wacha bene ni tekadong nino ma ine binywalo latine noni kimoro ni ti latina wobi ma food cheng popor ma cheng food popor mirite idivua bora jwaka enoni.
In other words, before the sun goes over him, she tells me she didn't know what was involved in. So she left, offered the sacrifice, returned home, she conceived.
So en bene po mine po niang matut ngoma jami egini wengo bibero entropy miri menongo latina wobi eno yeo teka gimo ken makiwajo so endo omiyo gimo ken jemi mokene ni weng makipinyu dien weng makipinyu chudo ko gang en weni teko do gang kuma ni tap ogamo ich onywalo bene latina wobi.
To a surprise, she gave birth to a boy. Now, the vow was to carry that boy from the city where she gave birth to the forest around 300 and maybe 400 kilometers away.
So nino madong kinywalo latine noni pero dong tieni miri kiting latine noni me a kidi town kama gin giti berie kilometers madwongba makaro kilometers 100 mechwalo ne wa divua kama jwara enoni tiye
From the city, and that is 1975. the transport.
Neno imwagali bachiel kimia bungwen ki piara biro ya beach. Lokom transport kare enoni no peti kita kom kare ni tikeli
Means
ni.
was not that good. I don't
So
know.
transport kare enoni no peti maber twa.
How she traveled. So she travels from the city in Kampala to go to fulfill the vow.
So en bene pengeo kita meno woro kede. But mene o making sure ni aki di town Kampala mechiero. Mechubu onyo mechuopo lock onyo kitma eno kwange kede. Lock makiwajo. Wiyati kakimene latin lacho.
What shocked her, she tells me, when she arrived at the forest, this time she didn't go through the ritual, but there was like a wedding.
Enwaini obedo mewu tutwal bore ma eno chiero nino enoni. Instead eno ng'eyo ni gok mogo no jeng mogo bitime, but eno okuno no ni kiyubo wedding kitika wedding ngoni.
Hundreds of people were gathered.
Dano maduong no tie.
They knew she was coming. Gathered the
And
forest.
gin weng no ging'eyo ni miene tika chiero kono.
And she realized it was now going to be the wedding of her 1-day-old son and the 60-year-old woman.
So la win video madong eno o kuno oneno yubme wedding kikena yitie. So endong chero niang ni kibibiru gikare meribu onyome wedding en latin eno ni menina chiel ki ajwaga matie mwaka piara bichiel.
For those of you watching, I don't know if you understand what he's just said. On the day he was born, on the day you were born, you were married to
A 60-year-old witch.
a 60-year-old witch that was the Grand Master Witch for the continent of Africa.
Of Africa.
So eno ni la dit mati penyete no en loka chile. Ni nino maki nywale first day nino mea chile kibirigi kare me yubu wedding ikini en menino mwaka gene menina chile ki ajwaga mati mwaka piara bichile maloyo continent me Africa jwaga madit.
That is mind-blowing.
And you know what she told me, the wedding was conducted by the chief, the witches of the continent first, and then the bishop of the diocese also came and conducted the wedding between this 1-day-old boy and a 60-year-old woman in the forest.
So ladit tika waini wedding enoni jomo ribu kengi and notini na chili kenba and then ajwaka noti mwara piara bichil. So ajwaki ayobil gikara meribu me achelba mukwo ribu geno. Then afterwards Bishop Benemo akidi town ki diocese bene ochiero chi ama omoro loka wedding enini oribu gibane.
Wow.
So Roma chalo yubu nyomete kwaro onyonyoma choli and then afterwards kado tiago chochiri kanicha otweyo lagiet kit ma wedding enini bene obiru kire bishop me diocese ma diet bene makingeo ma wara bene ochiero divua kuno karibu Johnny.
So and then that was also when she told me, say, are you sure? I said yes. Bishop so and so, which I knew.
So eno penyo mino waini iti sure imogo loga dai kom lok maiti waini ni chimino waini cho wajo nying pa bishop ma en bene ngeo.
Let us share how he got involved in my life and how we now.
So en waini la chen eno bibiru gikar me miyo kita la diti bishop obino bene ikuone oweko nyote nino enoni
moved me from that same bishop from the witchcraft to the occult because they are different. So for her, when she reached there were all these people, the celebrations from different parts of the continent had come to the forest for the wedding.
So eti winyane joki mapat pat gobino kamoko cha den I wedding nini kare ma bishop beno chiero bishops mapat pat me continent me Africa bene go chiero me moko loka wedding nini.
Now, according to her, that was the moment where this woman, the witch, was to transfer her powers to the boy.
So ikare enoni ma wedding titime ena yeno ajuaka enoni no obi mio tego mamege ikom Latin enini menina chieli. So nino eoni ayoberu like kwe majami mukenini obitime kere.
The 1-day-old boy. Now, I was 1 day old. I didn't know what was happening.
En no tinina chieli ken no pengio ngo matika time. Mine aetiti story bore.
So after the ritual, after the ceremony, days of celebration and what, the wedding, the marriage is conducted, the covenant and all the sacrifices. So they tell her, you know what? Now, this child is not just a child.
So
He's now a man.
madong yub enini otum. Tuyo lagit nyom ma ajuaki ubino timu bana kitiako celebration namu mapat obedo katime la chendong kiwajo mine ni inba enini dong pete latinba enini lacho madonyo meo matiki daro lacho matiki nina chile ken ba ilobokany nina chile ken la winjurio lacho dong ti lacho and ti lacho madonyo meki daro madong ti muara piara bichili lobokany.
So you're not going to breastfeed him.
So kichiro mine enini dong ti lacho milipo good chako mo ikenba dotrane obibero pe
Because now he is somebody's husband already.
pien enini dong ti chua pangarumo dong ba.
And she told me that in her mind, she said, well, okay, I'll go home. This people will not be there. I have to breastfeed my child.
So kitung bore emenu mino waini gini ni lokini ni patimu gimo giti kamabu tekada o gang tap ana bibiri ikare edoto latina.
You know, I've suffered a lot. I've paid the price. I have done all this. Like he was treasuring this child. So she returns home. When she went home, my father said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Okay, and all this and this."
So did your father not know what she was doing?
He didn't know.
So la dititi penyo ni babani no penyo ngo matitime nyiro waini babani no penyo gimoiken maobidu katime.
Did not know.
Because when she left hospital, she just went to the...
So mine madu aki oriat madung onywalo eno ochero direct bora jwaka tunkuja piano ticheke kita no gulogo kere. So one po medingeyo gimoiken.
My father, where's my wife? She's looking at her. So when she appears, where have you been?
So one obedo kayenye ke oriat kwene. So madong mene do tuj kuman gang ki penye ni bero kwene.
He had no idea that she was this deep in her passion to find a boy or to get a son.
He didn't. The
So
only thing...
la dititi penyo ni ama babani po ngayo gimoy ken mamani titi mune wako nung Latina obi ni po ngayo gimoy ken.
He knew like my mother could disappear for days and you know where he has gone. So when she returned home, she says, I was a baby. She put me in the baby cot in the bed, then go dress up, clean up, and then come and breastfeed the child.
So madong en mini do dugu one opinio iberu kwene endo no you megamone and then afterwards endong mini do chwalo en ikavuruba yaga do chero yupe o luoke timugena ngo latin dong ti bedroom kene tikanino.
And when she returned,
Madu dugu kaneno Latin.
She found a python.
Or no tool python.
Coiled around the baby. Yeah, python.
Yeah.
Python tool or luoro Latino.
And she says she could not come near because the python.
So, tuol do luoreo Latin ti diere. En ochero ka yope ba, tenyo Latin wi kavuru. Ochero ka yope luoke ng'ong'o gi weko dugi, olutuo mi chak bo Latin. Odugo no ni tuol python tie maro luoro Latin no. So manyo ni ki geng dong tie ket me gudu Latin dong pere. Uyopo ni karmano enti bora jwaka ki chieke ki wache ni enini dong tila dit mado nyomeo peti Latin so konye pe me miene chako konye pe me miene chak. So mene do wani unti kama bo kinwa papat an bena bi kancha chiaro so ka ogang bichero mera yupe chi amio chak bod Latina. So endo tero mera Latin gang kero mera wikavuru chero yupe kimission yo bidugu chingo doro Latine maro dugu kumano no tuola yedong tie tika guarding Latin.
So she ran out. The people of the village came around. My father came around. They could see the snake, and no one could come in.
So kiluoro mine ongwecho karo wako neighbors ayo bino wone obino bene guneno tuol guneno Latin, and then iningeo kadong dano do chako dong what kilo. So jomo keni weni kinywa Latin eno ni kituol onyomine tituol lok maduong atamo time.
Could they not kill the snake?
I don't know why.
So la didi tipenyo nino pegitwero neko tuoleoni and bene weni and bene pingio.
So she says for 30 days, for 3 months, she could not come near me.
So mine owacheni duadek no petwero dire chokere.
So was the python wrapped around you every day, all day, 24/7?
24/7.
So tuole noni no luare como en chawa pierario yangwen nino kinino pi duadek.
So she says she didn't breastfeed me. She didn't come near me. And the whole village would come and just peep in, and then there was rumors around that this woman gave birth to a child and a snake. Now I had those.
So duadek chako peba bene peramo mine peramo gudu en dano binu mere neighbors binu gilolo mere Latin ki wangot lok mawire kin pin ni meno nywalo en Latin ki tuol nywalo rudi achel dano achel tuol loko biru duong ikin gang.
Rumors when I was growing up. It was the talk of the town in their community. You know, that child is a twin. They could say he's a twin. He was born with a snake.
So mabene karma enti kadon lok beno biruti ma wari kin pinni en kinywalo rudi en tidano kidong omine tituol.
But my mother says no, she didn't give birth to a snake. The snake just came when she came back to the house.
So mine no peye bene kwaro ni tuolo binu karma endo bini ot.
I don't understand how this was done. So after 3 months,
Inge duadek.
father left.
Inge duadek. Wone okunu gango. Wono okigang.
Now he picked the 6 girls and left the home.
O kilutina nyira bichiel. Owero gango.
She remained alone.
Inge duadek. Mine odonkene.
And because of that, my mother got a mental breakdown. So she was not like a mad woman.
So pi jami mo biru katimeni. Mene wiye uchi ama losing wire mo keneo. We biru chelo mo bale so no peti mabe. She was mentally disturbed. We ucheruchio bale madong pijami mo biru katimeni
in the community.
We ucheruchio nyweneo.
So she's left alone with a child, a demon child, with a brother who was living with her. Now the husband, my father, and the children left, so she's deserted.
So we ucheru nywane. pi ngo tao mogo mobedo katime kenyo. So kitenyo en miene kidong nero. So manyuni ki ot kenyo no giti dana dek. Kidong tuol mano gwogo en mape yeni miene odire chokede. Wane o ao kilutino anyira bichil. Ochero kedeo. Kamagu cheriye pengene.
So by the time I'm three years old, the only person I know is my uncle and my mother, who has no attachment with me. Why? She is mentally disturbed.
So, karma endo mwagadek en no ngeo mere mine kineru ma mine bene wat moni kin gi peke pien mine tie ma wiyo nywene and pe biru chokere pe giloro bene pe tima bay.
She always spend all her time alone in the bedroom, there's no way. So as a child, I didn't
So pol mine biru I bedroom kene kuno.
have any attachment with her. I didn't see my sisters. I didn't meet my father.
So po biru ki kare chalo en po biru ki kare meneno wone wa lumegine bene po biru ki kare meneno gi mine biru kene en bene noti kene.
The only person now I know is my uncle, the young brother to my mother, who was also, I don't know what happened, he was also addicted to alcohol.
So anyway ni ngat madong en ngeo mabe magiloro ena yeneru ne. Okay? And menu mine ato pero beno bidutieni neru neni bene no tila mat como yuek.
So he could drink and what. Now, so he tells me, I remember as the other three, when he was drinking his alcohol, he could give me, because that's the only thing he had. My mother did not breastfeed me.
So, karmano giberu kineru neni gibolok uberu gi karmi wache lok mo. Kedong bene katimaro kone ni bene miene pien gimo madong endong chamo bene chamo kineno pere pien miene po biru gi karmi miene chak. You chako.
The husband had left, deserted her, and she tells me that the day my father left.
So mine do wachani nino ma babanyo
and with my sisters. It's
kilu
the day
megine.
the snake left also.
So nino ma wane ho kede ho kilu megine ena ye tuol enoni ho kede bene menu ngedwa dek.
So when he left, also it left. So she remained with this child, but now she was so hurt. She was so heartbroken, and then she got into a mental breakdown because of the husband leaving her. She's alone, and so as a child, I'm in that house with only my uncle.
So madong loko chero time kumeno endong biru kinero miene wiyo nywene mapeti mabaye nyedwa dek wone o ao tuol bene o ao neru ne bene tile mat kon.
Like all the community, the relatives, the people in the community, no one comes to our home because the talk of the community, the talk of the village is in that house.
It's a snake.
There's a snake.
Yeah.
So our neighbors looking gang ngarumo ken mangole gang kenyu pere piendano ngeni I ot ma gen giberi eni tuol tie eno ne lock mati kin gang and kiwaini ya nyeri kinywalo girudi ngara chel ti tuol ngara chel ti dano. So miene no wiyo nywene pien jami mo biru katime kare ma eno dugu o balo wiyo bene mapoko en kichware.
And there is a boy who was born. So
So you had no connection with anyone else apart from your mother, who was mentally unstable, and your uncle was, a drunkard who was struggling with alcohol addiction. And then you're 3 at this point.
yeah,
Your earliest memories are around 3 and 4.
3 and 4. That's the memory I have.
And then
So, gin ma en poi komi mabe karma no en tie mwaka dek mabe. But lok mukene ni weng miene ayobiru ki karma tete.
something really tragic happened.
So the only person I know is my uncle. And one day we are staying in a small room with him.
So ngata chele ken main ngiyo kare no ni mwaka dek menu ne ruma mege. And nino mo mano geti room mo.
I remember I was 2 and 4. I have this memory. And then the door, someone hit the door, opened it, and my uncle came running. And then these 5 guys, they were soldiers. By that time, the nation was in a civil war.
So, enwai ni karmano giti ginario en ki ne ruma mege. So, dano maroma beach gobino no giti lumoy. Enwai ni kare enoni no lobo peti mabe. Okay? No luentie. So lumoy gobino no giti ki mudugo bane. So, ne ruma mege o aki room kama no giti berie ki ngwej. Kun lubu kama actually side medogola. Chiro chero rwate ki moy kuno.
So they came into the house. I don't know why. They came chase my uncle. Then they shot him.
So go bieno guri ya moneru ne kichielo kiri church.
But what surprised me that they didn't kill him. They shot him 5 times and watched him bleed.
So giweni pegunero. Ento kichielo tien a beach. So gin monero neru ne oberu onyo paremu. Guberu kaneno kita remu on kere. Pegu chielo en menekba ki chielo richacha beach chiki wero remu beru ka on naga nyiruto.
Like I'm there, I'm sitting there, and they shoot, wait, they shoot, wait, they shoot, wait, they shoot, wait, they shoot, wait.
And don't beru chalo sacrifice. Eno beru kaneno kita kichelo kede wane. Pe kichelo mere rapid la wachil. Ento kichelo kong kiyue kichelo kiyue kichelo kiyue tiena beach kunremu tika o.
And then the deliberate, I remember they are shooting in parts that will not kill him instantly. So then I see these men are standing there in the room and they are watching him, and he's bleeding and bleeding slowly.
And they saw you there.
Yes, they made sure that I'm there. So they bring me near him, they shoot him when I'm near him, and they watch his bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and I saw him die.
So karma kichelo neru nini. Ki making sure niki kelo en beno biru chokenyo. Kichelo ma enti neno ne. Remuti on ma en bene ti neno ne. Eno biru kaneno kita neru nini oto kede.
So like he bled for like 2 hours. They're there watching, and when like he stopped like groaning and crying, and then he slowly died, and that way I blacked out.
So en bene you chero chunywane. Nge chawario kiti chelo nyiri ento kiti chelo kiyue kichelu kiyue nagaremu o mot nyero to.
So when I blacked out, when I woke up the next morning, the people in the community had come around to see what happened.
So
I realized I'd become a different person.
So en bene o fainting o fainting o pongi o ngomadong o leo don kenyo kini madong waya peni o neno dano me charo kenya dong ti around gitita mo neno ngo kikome motime kare madong in yabu wai baren weni kare meno yabu wai komani no dongen beno lokeo tinga tukene piti ngatiani mano entini no do lokeo manyuni no dong teko mokene odonyi kome wakati waini eni ni ramo bedo sacrifice.
I realized by that time something had left the human, like I was not human. From that time until I got born again at 24, my greatest joy was to cause misery.
So en waini kare main yabu wai kidi en kiteno neno kidi bedo chalu chwin money chwin padano ni nodong peke pien nodong gimodong matie kome ena ye jemi chalo kiniga gi chwin gi you know timalik ken eno chwin padano chiani kono timu kija kono ngongo gi dong pe. There is no innocence.
I was a sadist. I enjoyed causing trouble, killing. I enjoyed like seeing people suffer, and that could bring me joy.
So ni chake nino eno ni yomo chunye kat neno dano tika to, neno dano katika karo kichan, neno en jemi marajuni eno ino yomo chunye.
But I can trace that happened the day my uncle, like now I've understood after I became a Christian, when I was going through my healing, because I got saved, but the healing took time. It took like 10 years to be healed.
So enwani eno birgi kare melare, but kare maino lare ni chao otero kare chochoke mwaga pa.
Healing, especially deliverance and healing, took 10 years because parts of my life were fragmented. See,
So a part of your soul.
now
something happened to your
I
soul.
later understood that at that moment a part of my soul was trapped, and later I realized that after I got married.
So enwani ikare maen olare kede totwali inge mwaga pa ma eno no ni chao kede ena edo birgi kare menyang jemu kene enwani kare eno ni makineko kede nerune ena ye enbene birgi actually don yang ni wa tibune no don kimaro.
Because when I got married, I could not relate with my wife as husband wife.
So kare maeno nyome kede endo nyang ni bedung peramu like ruate kidago ne chalo la chuo kidago.
So I went in prayer, and then the Lord took me to that moment when I was 3 years and showed me when I blacked out what happened.
So madong eno nyang pero matini ni endong madong nyome eto miri moni meruate kidago ne chalo la chuo kidago no dong pere bene miri ne pebino. So endong ochero ilega madong eno beru kalega matek lubao nyute kare enoni mano entie mwaga dek ngoti me ikare enoni wero enoni angni no don kimaro ngo kimaro tibune wero no bene petwero karo nung dago konyepe.
Because God is all knowing. Jesus is all knowing. So to deliver me, he had to show me what happened when I blacked out, what happened to my soul.
So enweni Yesu Kristo ngeo luba ngeo tekar padano weng mapapat. So me mine ni tiao pieno wani enolare entu mwaga pa kare ma enolare biru pi mwaga pa ni chao pere. So me mine ni chao enuni onyote ngomo time ikare moya ngech. So kare enuni oberu kare enuni mano enti mwaga deke maki chielo nerune remo on picha wario chi roma en bene nuduta kare ma eno yabu wae nudung ti ngata pat ngat mamaro kiniga ngat mamaro chwechwiny yomo chunye ka oneno initika koro yomo chunye ka che ne enti neno inti deno chian loka nek pepero bore o chake nino enuni. So kare madong enti kanyomo dago ne nge mwaka pa ena yelu bao birigi kare menyo te piano dong warwate ki dago ne ikavuru dong tek so madong eno donyi lega ena idong lubao nyute ni pero tie kwene uchake ki kany kare mano enti mwaga dek majami mukene ni utime.
Where was I trapped? So when I got married, I married when I was 36, very late. So I was a 36-year-old man, but my soul was 3 years. So I remained trapped at 3 years.
So tibune kimao karmano enti mwagadek ento komeni ti mwaga piara de ku yabichel karma eno nyomo kede dagone mwaga piara de ku yabichel. So ento tibune kitweyo ti karmano enti mwaga dek manyoro ne komeni ti mwaga piara de ku yabichel ento tibune ti mwaga dek ken manyoni menongo lagame menongo ni chao olego matek ento lubao nyute kama pero tie manyuni no miri yele matek penuni gonyo engin anuni.
But now I was a man with a body, even born again now, got married, but I could not relate with my wife as husband because I had been
because of that trauma.
So and no dong mga piara de ku yabichel ti ngato nyome ti gidao gitika chel ento lok moini mema no dong pera pien no dong en kimaro tibune kimaro karmano enti mga dek
trauma. So when that happened, my uncle was dead and I'd become a different person.
Senwaini karmagini unotime no dong neru ta.
Those people in the occult came to my mind and say, you know what has happened to your brother? It's because we want his boy. You have to give her now officially to us. You have to surrender him to us.
So now aloke dong aramo mogone ki kaini no dong agiti ki diero nero uremo make onyo ni ki onyo pia wobini onyo pikare enoni mano enti mwaga deki and ma eno faintingo mroma dong no ruta ma oneno kaki nero ne ma nero ne do blacking out uta en benedong nyae do giko kenyu nyang mamege do giko kenyu pongi do ngomo time. So enweni kare enoni ena ye jochiane ya bora jwaga gobinu bore chige gobinu bot mene chige waini ini neno ngomo time about o meru ni menu neru pa la kwati ini neno ngomo time wa miru ni ikela tini imiwa officially kape jami mukene makaro kenyo obitime so biro bora mo a kibot jok kibora jwaga pien no kare pa wobini mechiero bod gidong no do romo lawin video atika katiki lokenini ageno ni ulutu itika niangi moki ye okay ageno ni itika niangi moki ye ogwakulutino mabeba otherwise lutino mukene kidiero ento kadu mwaga dek mwaga biero ichako neno kit palatini chako loke latin bene no petiri chalo ine ye wone nyo ine mamane okay so ageno ni otilu loke ni kare angeo ni lutu wa bibiru gi kare amefonyo jemi mapol kiye okay.
So she tells me, but now this one I remember it. She got me, and there is a place where this the headquarters of the occult in our nation. It's like a cave. They said it's like a cult, as if they believe in God but not God. They don't believe in the Bible. It's like a cult where politicians go and even religious leaders. So she takes me to this place. This place, like it's.
Anyway, ni ilogo mamege. Now lobo neni tikwene. Uganda kany. Uganda kany. niti jomoni giberu chalo tikanicha beru chalo dano maworo luba ento kitung chel bena no giworo jok tikenyu penyang.
It's a cult, like a religion.
So kitero en kunu ginoni biru chalo dini biru chalo kama gitimu ye jok gimuma penyei mine ochwale wakunu
Sure.
ananen chalo ka kenyo kikome ayeno ajwaki onyo ajwak madichani no mironi kitela tene pieneno ni noti kanicha ma akibod gi direct.
Now, when their leaders die, they don't bury them. They embalm the bodies and pile them in a cave, the dead bodies.
So en beneti waini kama kitero any biru chalu a cave pangyo kitme wajone kileba chali biru chalu a cave. Now en waini jone ajwaki ki jomo kene matimu tim joki agenti kaguto peki yerogi nano peki yerogi ki yubu komgi chiki ruarogi I cave kenyo ki guaro komgio.
She took me and handed me over to those people. Now,
so mine obirugi karme kwanyo en after jok ochero onero ne omiyo bora bot mine ni neno ngomo time ka pe kelo latini officially botwa ibi neno ngoma doko bitime. So kiluoro mine otingo en chuchwalo en ikabiro enoni biru chalo otlega biru chalo kama kitimu jok ye penyao dano biru chalo giworo luba biru chalo giworo jok penyang. So mine otinye kikenyu chuchwalo o mine bodano iguni. So enwe ni kikuno ka inito onyo agenti onyo ajwaka moiken mano ama tibod gikuno ka inito peki yiri instead ngoma kitimu ki yugu komi chiki gwori I cave ziguni. Okay, ki gwori I cave ziguni. So latini kareoni no enti mwagade kitere wakunu.
Remember, my uncle is dead. I have this pain. And now the only person I know now remaining is my mother.
So en bene no chwechwin futie pienero ne do to ngat madong en ngeo ena yewone gene ena yemine en pingeo ngaro moiken pien kare mawone a kigang no en futie latin no futie ngaro mo mapenyang piny bene no futpuro mo mwaka wono a kilomegino weng chiguchiero. So dong nero kimine nero kinero o dong en kimamane. So kobiri ni ngoma titime jok domi obora kitingo eno kitero dong officially bod jok andeno ni kama kitere biru chalo kanicha biru chalo ngopenyang and it is a cult biru chalo church biru chalo ngo and la winjwedu unungeyo jemi igini wengti time kanya wakikumalo kanyi unungeyo kabiru mugu matime idano lo back dog tie kitimu ngo ento donko o doctrine no jemi ni part. So winyo jamuki no gikwanyo yadbe. So la winjwedu kichwalo en kuno manyuru ni nodobi don kene okay eno ngeo ni nero mine gina dek ento dong nero kinero o dong en kimine but then joko mi obora o nero and then kiwaini kigolo oda kite en kuno officially manyuni tero en kuno dobi dong kene kuno mine bedong obiberu pi kangere.
So she hands me over to these people who I don't know. They get me. Now, remember, I have the trap, just lost my uncle. Put me in a cave with dead bodies, lock it for 3 days and 3 nights.
So, makitere kuno, kikero en any cave kuno. Pinina di, adek idiwo adek dichieng bene adek kikero en kuno kifuo na la video ngeni kama kikerie kero eni yeni lieli padano muto agenti mogo madongo to makiyugo ko mabe ti iye kunu en ayege ken onyo en ayege ken iti ngata kwo ti chero kabiri kin lieli ti chero kabiri kin lieli ki loro ku fungu dogolao peira mokaro pi dichieng onyo dichieng adek kinena adek onyo diwo adek pien ka waini ni na adek mogo no ini bi kwano ngo achelery adek but day and nights pinina di adek is inside ti iye kono ikin lieli kifu dogolao ti kane bene ki dano muta
without food,
la bon cham bene
without water.
And how
la bon pi bene
do you at this point?
Now towards 4. It's just a few weeks from the death of my uncle.
Wow.
So now I remember the pain and the betrayal I felt as a child, that now my only mother, the one who I thought could protect me, has handed me over to these people who have now locked me in a cave with dead bodies, pitch dark, day for 3 days, hungry without food.
so chwe chwin beno mete okenyo piene no geno mine dong pienero ne dong pake eno ngeo ni mine ayo bibiri kar me mine protection ni me gwake okay but mine bedong ochwalo en iching pa jomo kene ke kono kirware kama kamo malili tiye dano muto tiye kono labo cham labo pi pinina di
Now,
pinina dek.
so what happened in that cave? The things I saw inside there those 3 days, like the spirits, Lucifer, the demons, could come and talk to me. Serpents could come into my body, you know.
So anyway ni na dek ma ino biru kunu jami maduong otime ikome. Lucifer obinu ologo kere tuoli mapat binu logo kere chien mogo, you know, weng tibu padano mapat binu logo kere tuoli mukene donyi kome iye kunu ni na dek jami eguni weng titime.
All kinds of things were done on my body.
So anyway ni tekadongi mweken kitimi kome.
Was in being initiated into deep occultism. Which
So eno tiwa eni no don kitika oberu chalo kwe mewaro endong obed mano donyo I timu jok matut
like every part of my body. Now that's the first time I am knowing about the snake, which now Mama tell me which came at birth.
so oberu nino eno niki kome ena ye eno oberu kikare meniang lokom tuol moni mamine otiete chalo story mano en futiri kare mano enti maki kelo any art ti tuolo binu oluoro eno mano enti wikavuru dong tini na chile ken be dong ti donyo ni nario tuol mobiru ka gwake pi dwe maro madek mo wero wonedu neno madonki chwalo en kama lieli tiye Lucifer binu tuoli mapat chien mogu tibu padano muto wengu biru ka logo kere kitimu teka gimoiken initiation itim jok matut. So enweni obiru nino enoni ikare enoni ena yobiru gikare bene menyang ikom tuol chani mamine otiero.
But it came around me, coiled around me in the cave and entered my body.
So tuol enoni obinu kare mano enti cave enoni oluoro eno chi obinu ikom en chi odonyo kom en okaro ki kwene okaro ki ot jet chi odonyi kome.
Wait, physically or spiritually?
Physically. And you know, all my
So enti waini obiri yome chwin onyo biru kanen physically. Laditu waini obiru gina nenia odonyi koma manen koman pedak ni yo mechwiny.
Life until I got born again, it lived in my body.
So enway ni gine oni tuole noni obedi kome ni chake nino eoni wai kare ma en ochiero lare kere me ye Yesu Kristo chao lalane no tuole noni ti kome
moving.
ki jami mukene modonyi kome,
Like you could tell something is moving in the body.
so enway ni no enano ben iramo wai ni gimoni iramo ngeo ni gimoni ti what en
Like now, the spirit in this neck took over, and now it could control me. Now, from that time on, say this until the day
so chene anoni tuole anoni maudonyi kome ni no dong ena ye dong tikadoro en.
I got born again, all my life I was in pain.
So enway ni
There's no day
kare matuoli noni odonyi kome petie ni no moma eno beri coach kare ne owengo nyute kare noni weng no entie yarem.
Remember, I was not in pain until the day I gave my life to Jesus for 24 years.
Until ni okay nino ma eno mio kwane bot Yesu Kristo mebiru amalalane kare enoni no enti mwaga piara riyo yangwen.
Every day, that pain was there in my body.
Enwa ni nino kenino arem enoni macheni enoni kelo no tie ikome no jamine peyot.
All because that thing had to keep me in pain in order to use me.
So enwa ni enoni biru chalo chiek pachatan miri ogwok in mano iti arem wegobed ki kare metich kedi. La win video angeo ni jami machalo man jay mukene no titime ikomi bene no in pengeo. So wegati waini o win lokeni ni kore ki kore pengene gwok mogo no tijay mukene bene matitime ikomi ento no in pengeo. Ka ini beru ka winyo yo man aberu gi kare me wachini ti kare mukene machatan ti ukiri ento no in pengeo ni chatan ti ukiri. Win ngoma la detiti wajane. Initiation mukene kitimu no infertility no pengeo gimoiken. Enway ni aremeken ni chake matuole no donyi kome. Wai mwaga piara riyo ya ngwen kare ma eno ye Yesu Kristo chaula lane. Kidong bene chatan pe wego ini beru ki yom chwin. Wego ini beru ka un kun mete kidoro in metimu jing mugu mapat mechobo tiche.
Because if Satan controls you through pain,
Iwenyo chatan doro in ni okay yarem.
because it has to manipulate you to control you. So it had to keep in my body. I could not eat well. I could not live well. So the only way I could avoid pain is to be drinking.
Nano chatan obiwego inibiru karem wego bid gi kare me doro in. Pe ichamo mabe. Pe ikuo mabe. Ibiru ki chwiny. So gin madong itwero timone ena imato ko. So en bene waini gin mano endong twero timone mabe ena imato ko. Maro ko enoni ena emene nyulu tudung. Biru chalo me jienu arem enoni. Me poro den chalo jemi mukene tima chalo kuoni tima be enda dano iti arem. So la win video lutuwaka initi winya. Chamu kene ini no iti neno ngarumoni ti maro ko. Ti maro ko madong chamu kene bene inoni perwate. Chamu kene no in pingi ungo matiti meguane. No in pu wachi rema entika karokie. No in pingio a un ma entika karokie. Chamu kene ramo biru chalo ngoma la kwate nini tika wajone. Waka waini ya chakina waini win loke nini kore ki kore. Tijami mukene no titime kin pin titime komi titime kom lawori ento no unuti neno ni chalo gimo mati normal chalo gimo biru chalo eno ne dong ti ko me kom kare enini ento no ngaru moni tika karo kiti kare mapeyot la winjuru kai biru ka winyo lokom Isaac the same story kita inti winyo ni ngat kita ngate ni tiwa ine kiti Isaac dong no maro ko timu girango idi wunu ti kora kuch peke no chatan ti kadoro in So lutua cha mo kene bene kama ini tiyeni ramo biru ni ngaro mo bene tikumeno gwok mogono in bene ento no pengi ukumi to twale signs ramo biru tie loka lek pole no peti mabe penyuti gina be to twale lek mogo maraju. You have to be very very careful because chatan kupe keri iyo mechwin pobi kupe keri mano iti live. It's okay. Ka in lawin video fudi yabo really na yaba ngini wati ka winyo lokpa koberini lakwat madung ti lakwat ba. Yes, makiloni James Kawalia and tiki geni oloto in Benedict teacher kanyang jay mukene kore gikore. Otherwise amira wachi benini lokeni ni pewara motia ko ni na matini pien loke food duong but wabi giro cha bungwen and then wabi birigi kare gwok menuone dire chi wamete kiri kautum dire chi be barangeo ni mogono bichero wichangwen. So wabineno kito bitime kere. But this is Pastor James Kawalia and tika tiro tekare mamege tika mogo cha den ngomo time kuone ni chake mano en futiri wakamadong NTA kita eno biru ngat maloyo. Yes, kita eno donyo kere itiat onyome bira jwaga madit kidong jimu kene motime kore kikore. So wamete wono furu watiki cha wachel and then afterwards penino matini wakele yumani ya gikini. Now la winjuri ngeni watiki yumukeni cha wapa yesamenu wake up with God big J notikany yesakadoru waikinika chawa apario meo diku. So kai tiki chwin melega please be around angeoni lega kibako dog notie chawa para chawa pa wai chawa pario meo diku ngeni lukwedi mapat nutie pn oluto meneni pigamo kwach melega cheki lego bane. Okay, and lokeni nila video yes angeuni luto biyabo wai timakija kakitika keli luoro but luoro ti pachatan amironi ibed ki tek chwin ama wekoluto ibed ki kar meloyo Jimmy Mapol ento ka doktika keli luoro manyuni bene baby biru yikare melwenyi komte kare mainiti yeni. Yes, dano weng tikite kare mapapat. Okay, so wamete uno wawinye kita jamine tika tikere but anguni wabigi go chabo ngwen.
I began drink alcohol and what I became addicted to alcohol because that's the only way I could now kill
numb
that pain. Numb the pain.
So that's a powerful thing you said. Satan controls you through pain. There's so many people that, have come into the trap of the enemy because of bitterness and all sorts of things that have happened in their past that have not been resolved through the cross and accepting Jesus. In fact, they may have accepted Jesus, but they've not allowed him to bring healing and they've not forgiven. But that's an access point for control of the enemy.
So, iti winyo ngoma la kwate no ni beno konyo. Owaini chamo kene no inilare. Iye Yesu Kristo cha ulalani. Ento no pe no ni gonye. Owego pol kare kati hope through the night kaini. Abirugi kare me wachini. Ka ini ye Yesu Kristo cha ulalani. Tijemi mukene mamiri wego bidi. Timukija. Arem chani weng wilo ye. Pien ramu doka tuya ikom lare mamigi. So ena ye bene ko bidi ni wati winyo ne en. La detip chero lare mwaga pa yaka dono ni chao. Pien a un chani machatano keri kome. Jami mogo mu chero choti me. Remu mu on karma ki nego nero ne. Dano ma eno nego. Dano ma duonga ta te karma eno karo kiye. Weng obiru ka kelu a rem. So manyuru ni wanilare mamege no don konye pare. La winjvideo in ramo biru mano iti winya ichani. Ilare ochon gwok mwagario mwagadek. Ento furitika karo kite kare matek. Furitika karo ki ya tuya pachatan. Pien furi wego jami eguni weng mautime. Futie chwinyi. fut pe gonyo dano fut itweyo imaro ng'aro mani chunyi ti jami mogo ma eni wero chamo kene weng onyo cha weng no iti tamone weng no ti atweya o wero fut pe no ini cha watin o wero chamo kene no ini lare pien no pero tie mano ibero ki gomni nino ma eni bi lare kere pien winyo lukwari waini teka dong eni binu pebi dokita no itikere kono ngongogi ama kade binu kanye bi lare chuchut pero eono bi ao kono ngo chi iya gikine kilego piri gimo matime pere ngeni ni chao is a process tero kare aki chwinyi bene kape gonyo dano kape wero ji mugu motime chone nyoro ni chao mamegi frubutero kare awai ni mira gony onyo mira mi explanation mamnok ilokom ni chao wero in bene kade chero pi ki leg piri onyo ibiri ni rikech pi kare mo onyo ibiru ka yele kilega iti wani dano kwenye kilega dano timgina ngo in bene kenen kong chamo kene no atweya tie atweya eno ni no petika kilo ni chao pien in pe ka gonyo dano in pe ka wero jemi mukane ento no jui iwaini inilare icheri kanicha bene pa jomo lare ichero bene wero we mabe ibako dog bene mabe imiyo woro mabe ento ki chwinyi no imao dano ento ki chwinyi ti jemi mukene ma we deg wilie iti iatweya ageno ni paniang point no ni ageno ni bene obikonyi ka initi winya ichaman wamete wono.
Yeah, because it controls the pain. And also, you can give your life to Jesus Christ, but you need, first of all, deliverance, and you need also healing.
Iti winya ne enebi miyor kuoni bot Yesu Kristo eno ni melare wak Yesu Kristo bi chawla lani ento ni chao bene piere tek ma ubitero kare
Restore your soul. Because if you've given yourself to the enemy, the first thing he'll fragment your soul and keep all different parts of your soul in different prisons. The bitterness, anger, unforgiveness, guilt, hatred, traumas, all these. Now, each one of them is like a print on your life. And now,
iti winyane la diti tika gonyo ne dong mabe loyo bene kitano anawachikere ni chatano bipoko kuoni mabe o bipoko kene ya o bipoko kene o bikero kuoni ibuch mapapat jami chalo chwe chwingi kinigagi iningeo so no himiro ni chao no tero bene kare petime nino eoni kikome owero chamo kene anchunya chui ikom letich paloba matero jemi mukene ma you know you cannot achieve in a day when it is a process. You give someone false skill warning on it. False hope. You give someone false hope and the person goes with that false hope and nothing happens. O wero lu kristayo mukene wari kanicha mapapat. Pieni noni kamoni kimini kidwaro geni komiki wachilo koman inde biru no ingeo ni chuchoto rune no answer obibiru tie itero chabiri itero ni nadi inoni gimomo timepe yao kikenyi chiri kanicha mukene yao kikenyi chiri kanicha mukene pieni tin yenyo ni chao ento inpengeo ni chao chake kiburi nen ngomo time kuoni ijal jami mukene jami chalo chwingi kinigage itim kija kwayo kija beneti kenyu arem mugu muti me kare chani owego atika wachi kidong la kwate ni beneti wachini ni chao tero kare jomu kene tero magario jomu kene tero magabi jomu kene tero magapa chalo la kwat eni ni chao ne otero magapa kuno lare mwaga piarario yangwen ento cha weng wiye poi kom ngomo time eno ni kekenti atwe o mago dano ki chwinye chwe chwintie ki niga chwinye pe biriom
has given you a false identity and personality, which is not you. So you have the identity and the personality of the demons that are now residing in those pits where the pain is. So I have the pain. I hate my mother and I hate everyone. I don't know my father.
Ineno en kitung bore arema no tie ene ni no deg mine chwinyo kwero mine pitime kidong bene karma no dong en geno ni mine ay do dong mine ay no miro begi karme gwake ento doko tinge o chwale dong direct bodjok pien joko waini gen gun neko neru palatini pien mirikite nyeri officially manyuni ki diero ki sacrificing neru ne ki onyoremu picha wario naga nyeri oto to maliet o logo chwiny la ditio so chunyi chue komene bene tikene jami mapul motime so mon maunti winyo radio chani chamu kene kijamiro maku tutwali kada neno videos mogo makigoyo lutino mapat menek jomu kene mabolo lutini choron jomu kene matima un onyo makera uni kom lutino itiki keru ento iwego latini kamo nen chwe chwiny maladeti obero kerepi mwagapa in bene roma latini ramo kweri ramo bero ki chwe chwinyi komi pi tim ma eni timo pi jemi mogo ma eni timo ma pe pore ki mego the same thing to any other parent. Eni ramo biro mana iti wenye chani iteke loteno iti wegi lotina bit ento muguno ginwengi tenyo iwego giti warata itamani yom chunyo bibiru tie kom loteno aoni chwengi obi chwe komi gubi kweri makari ki penyo ni babani ti kwene gubi kweno ni babana pe aremma ki kili kom dano ikom lutino so kadongini gamu Yesu Kristo chala lani we ti jemi mukene tero kare pieni ni lare tin ento ka wiyo pok awon gwak mugunu mababani obedo ka kelo iri ka timu komi onyo mamani onyo jemi mugo mochero chotime kare mo and responsibility ngarumo eken ponyoro enoni chwe chwiny enoni kwanyo ne bedo tek lutieno mokeno nyodano mokene go kwero wakaga gio ngarumo ni chero chako kaga manyen pikita kitere kere arem enoni aun enoni. I'm trying to explain this in a bigger picture, but just bring it to your own situation. Just bring it to your own situation, then you get a proper answer. Chamo kene no ni gonye peke pien itika atweya matieni pedak ni ngarumono tweyo tibuni konongo ento no pitekare mogo mo beru kakaro maini beru kakaro kiye ento idek gonye keni foditiki chwiny pije mogo motime eno ni tia tweya kech kom tika bino pije mi mogo kiniga tie awaga moni pieni deg kwayo kija.
So the enemy, every time is to use me, is to remind me that people, humans are bad. You have to kill them. You have to do this. They are evil. They are bad. They hate you. I don't have. Remember, there's no emotional attachment.
So anyway, ni Satan uyele matek me kwanyo chwiny moni, chwiny padano moni. So chaweng ka Satan miro tiyo kere poyo wiye ni dano rach, dano peluremi, dano lunek. So wero biro ma chunye pe yom chaweng. Instead ka jemi maraju titime no chunye yom.
Because as a child is growing up, the love you get from your parents is what now grows in you. So now, because there was not that, emotionally, I didn't have I was emotionally trapped. I didn't understand what's love, what's fear. I never cried. I never laughed.
Wow.
Because I didn't understand this. You see?
So now you go through this deep ritual. 3 days is completed. You come out, and what happens? People are worshiping you.
When I come out, what surprised me, hundreds of people are waiting for me. So they come out and they're worshiping like I'm like a god. They're bowing and.
So, eno beru katiro aria matie mawero en po beru kango kanoni gonye luaro tikenyu yom chwiny pere tineno dano chalo dano maraju. They are enemies, chi laditi madong entity rajemi ni laditi waini ini beru I keve no ni pinina dek I beru ki karme loki Lucifer chien mapat obino bene tuol mapat obino kidong beno biru ki karme neno tuol moni chani mo gwako en mano en tie Latin maditiri ikare makichiko mene ni breastfeeding miro bed pe miripe ki mi Latini chak. So mene no tamani do bitwero tuolo bino luoro Latinio tuolo no ni ena yie ni chalo no ti dago mati mwaka piara bichel ane ena ye ochiero inino eno ni maeno tiako ni na deki cave tuole no ni beno ano donyi kome. Okay, so odonyo ni ning eno biru ki karme demonstrating kanyin penano odonyo ki dure cho donyi kome. So tuole no ni obiru ki karme doro en pimwaki machero by piara riu yangwen pieneno lare maduro mwaka piara riu yangwen no tuole no ni ai doro en tego tie matek ento chwiny kiniga arem ai notie aren waini Satan kelo jami eoni wego bed ki kare medoro in mabe wekin pe bed ki yom chwiny moiken cha wenga reme no ni main kelo ni notie me poyo wi ni dano pe be dano lunek nano. So enoni ayelok amati lawin radio and lakwat dong bero kikare me penye ni ngoma do time ingeni na dek enwa ni ngeni na dek maino katikiri ni oneno dano maduong madong tika kuro en an weng no gitika miyo waro gitika gumu piny endong tichalo tichalo ruot konti mwa adek ba ento dong tichalo ruot dano ti gumu piny giti miyo waro dano maduong ata
are waiting for me. So they come out and they're worshiping like I'm like a god. They're bowing and worshiping.
And you're 4 years old.
I'm 4 years old.
Kenyo dong no dong enti mwaka ngwen.
I said, what's going on? Now my mother has no access to me, has no authority over me, because now that's when I know now I've been initiated and ordained as a witch.
So, kare oni madong endo karo ki kev. Madong ama endo kati. Mene dong pe ki access mo iken. Yo mo madong ama meko pe ki mene dong pere. Tinanane. Yo mo madong meko pe ki mene onyo merwate ki mene onyo ama onyo menywa kutam pere dong tipire kena piene dong tichalo ruot tia jwaka dong madit. Okay? Ka wipo mabe kare makitimu wedding money chani mano en futiri. Yes, kare anoni ena ye powers mukene kibirugi kare me kobo ne ikome. Kibirugi kare me kobo powers mukene ikome. And enoni weng obiru process me tero en unyo me mini tero me timu teacher jwara.
So from that time, there's a part of me that's human. I want to be a child. But then the people treat me like a power. You want to play, but no one comes next to you.
So enweni kare no ni madong enti mwaka ngwen. Tichwin mo ni mamiro biru chalo Latin. Ento kisaid padano ki gwogo en chalo ruot. Chalo ngata dit. Ajwaga madit. So manyoni yo mo madong en ramo biru kire Latin pere. Pien giti ka tere chalo la dit.
First of all, no parent will allow their child to come near you.
Kidong bene ikare enoni. Petie la nyoro mo iken ma ye Latin ne metoko ki en.
You see, so you were busy, people could come every day and night for help, to get powers.
Kidong bene, peira mo no chawa metoko. Neno ke neno, no dano madungi tika bino bore. Giti miro taro, giti miro ni chao. Maduong, giti miro solutions piperoge.
Get what? Then
so chawa, me beru chao Latin, chawa metoko ke Latino luare. Pere.
Them as old. One of the things that I so painful, even I remember right now and read it had a lot of the people as older than my mother could come and they have to undress to be naked before me, women.
So enwene kawi po bene ikarma no intimwa ngwen. Dano mutiki mon madu teki chalo mamane mukene bienu gichungi nyime gilunye beru monero yo momenongo solution answers which you peroge.
And then you have to give them powers. Now if a 4-year-old you're exposed to such,
senwaini kadong mono bino temukumeno en miyo tero. So kadong in Latin me mwaka ngwen iti neno jimi mogo manomi dependen yom chwin ramo berutia dai kwoni
affects your life. And even today, it affected my life until Jesus healed me.
And when why kare man enti mwaka piari yu ya ngwenya kadong wiyo po ikom jimi uni weng turu chwinye naga madong eno gamo Yesu Kristo chola lane.
You're seeing naked women and naked men. You are a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. That affects you, the way you look at people, the way you think, the way. So, what Satan does.
So, when koditimo maino bedo katimone. Logo neno ni kiti neno kede dano. Kiti eno bedo ka neno kede mon matimo nero, cho matimo nero. Kare oni mano intimi your powers ngongogi. Logo kitma ini neno kede dano. It affects your mindset.
Is to abuse, you see when people abuse children, people think it's just lust. Sometimes it's initiation.
Iwinyo. La dititi waini chamu kene ini neno. Ludiru onyo la dit muvuru kila tien kono mwagario kono mwagabich chamo kene no kitika diaro latina no ni obot jok. No, it is a process machatano miyo. Wan chamo kene watama ni diaro lutino onyo diaro ngarumwani no miri ony remu. Ba chamo kene karo ki yome vuru. Ki mago latin tetek. Yene tamo ni gok moguno miri me kom. Ento no mission team apart.
They're initiating them when they expose them to pornography, when they expose them to all these things, like men and who abuse children. And in my ministry, I found that many people that who are struggling to be healed and delivered, it happened. Their exposure was in childhood, between 1 and 6.
So anyway, ni ikanicha mamege, and you can dano maeno biru kanywa kutam kere jo maeno lego pire nga gini pole no ni jo only weng exposure gudonyo itim jo konyo ama timu actually jemi maraju ikare manogi timu agadi mwa dek mwa ngwen mwa beach mwa bichel jamu kenera mo biru yo me pornography mai neno ki smartphone onyo ineno ki computer, neno mon matilu dok, neno jomati voro, kidong bene mukene no ki mago gi tek ikare enoni mwaka beach mwaka bichel. No, iti latin nyago, iti mwaka biero, ento dong ingeo kit me voro, ngeo styles of weng, manyuri ni mindset mamigi, adamino dong ki lao. No donki diero inbox jok ento no pingeyo. Ini neno jam mukene la wing video dano mukene tika loin. Ento no ngate no nikade neno lifestyle no biru ki lutina nyira. An lutina nyira bene pegi kwero chamo kene gok mogo no pi tero ma enti kere pat me attraction onyo pichene ma jok miyo ana nyira bene pien gi miro chiane onyo lutino cho bene miro chiane iye gi moiken ki vuru keri ini tamo ni yoneti mabe but jamine chero loke kuoni chero loke kit ma chwe chwin binu kere no pingeyo kit ma kech kom binu kere no pingeyo no donki diero in ento ini chero pieni miro yom chwin onyo ki voli pieni miro yom chwin ko bedi ti dano mokene in chamo kene donyo i ma onyo i miri ki ngaru mono itamoni mere badla chen ichago no lek muguma pebe lego no iti kamoni ke tam kong mabe ikare malek enoni weng ti kabino non kongo motime chamo kene no fudi vuru ke ngaru mani potero kare mogo no ngecha bira chiel ichago lego lek maraju. It was a process of dedicating you to the devil. And chatanti yenyo yone me weakening tibuni. And kado weakening tibuni, jami mukene beru chalo a weakness to you. Ngarumwani chalo latin mo kiramo vuru kene mo aga beru. Ya gikine do ngarumo iken mabino latin no ni pobu kwero. Kiramo chunu ngarumwani tin dire no ro yeo. An kaki vuru kere kira anu. That one becomes as a process. Chatan no do no yone ikuoni. Vuru becomes normal. Initiation petien loke ni miri on remu. But kiramo initiating in iyuma pole. Kiramo initiating in iyoma pol. Chamo kene no kuch pay kuone. Wero dano mukene cheri masturbation pien nodong kit madong joko tim initiation ne enu. Ini no itamo ni ititimu masturbation mere me yomo chunyi keni. Ento in pengyo ni chien moti kenyo ndeontika benefiting. In pengyo ni spam matika kati eno ni chien notika kwanyo tego neo. In the spiritual world, you are satisfying someone else. So these are things you should think of and try to avoid. Be very careful. Weranuayo ogwakuloteno mabe. Kai bitero latini is school. Nge school enoni mabe. Lok money bene me weroni la fony te me bed kila gwak latini chalo latini mamegi. Be very careful kaitika making statements eguni. Pianin pebinge la fonyo no ni ramo biro ki latini no ni chao latini mamege ada bene. Inoni kit pa latini chero loke. Kivuru kene no in pingeo. Pianini waini ki gwak chalo mege. Ape katoro chwing dano. Anto amiro ni let us use wisdom that Christ gave us. God created us with wisdom. Let us make use of it. Angioni chamu kene ramo biru lock me responsibility. Ipe ki chawa me biru kila tin. But itiki gen ni kamala tiniti yeni timobe. Tilutino mukene magidiaro bojok. Labo ngech palunyuro. Pigi ngeo gi moiken.
Between 1 and 6. Those who were sexual abused, those who were molested by teachers, parents, siblings, and all. And it is a gate the enemy uses to trap the soul. So mine was trapped. But, okay.
Iti winyone. Enoni ya ye yu machatan mako kedetibu padano. Enoni ya ye yu machatan mako kedetibu padano. Initamo ni chamu kene itika vuruki dano endo itika vuruki tuol. Chatan donyi komi ena edong doro kuoni miri me komberi ruom malamal and you don't know, you think it is normal. So laditi bene en beno karo kitekari maruma kingoma ati wachini.
The killing of my uncle, trauma, trapped me.
Yeah.
Then the betrayal of my mom trapped me. But then the years of being exposed to such things, like you, women and men, come to you every day, have to undress, sit naked before you.
So at this point, where are you living? Are you just living in the forest somewhere? Are you with your mom still?
And now
laditi tipenyo ne ni kare eni ni dong itibiru kwene pien no dong timangwen ikare eni ni dong itibiru kwene tibiru bod mamani tibiri divua kono kama kiyubu kwe kiye itibiru kwene kikome.
The home where I'm living, my father left. It's like now a hospital. It's like
Oh, so at this
so aladiti tiwaini kama enberi ye obiro ot pa wone ma wone otenyo so dong tichalo oriat kama dano cheri ye katiago perogi kanongo kony kanongo tero enti chero kuno jomu kene chero gi lunye munero inyim latini chero kuno mukene lunye munero inyim latini so latini oneno teka gimoy ken miyo gitero solution ni kompero gi ngongo gi ot pa wone dong tichalo oriat endong ti ajwaka madit ajwaka chani la winjwedu kai bero ka lubu story enini odonyo ikomu en. Remember, our bodies are vessels. Oweko ka inito la wind radio ngoma to ena ye komini pieno karane do romo ento tibuni no puta keke ni no dong petwero lok owero Yesu Kristo onyoluba tiki twero nego komi twero nego tibuni ento chatandra mo nego komi ento petwero nego tibuni. So this body is like a vessel. La mego onyo mego moni me mwaka piara bichieli. Ena yo binu kare mano en kidwako gang o binu chalo tuol. O biro choki latini. Mabene kichiro mine ni inba eni dong pe latin. Kitweyo lagito nyomete kwaro beno tumo ajwaki gu celebrating gutia kutimo neo mekanicha beno tumo kikelu ama bishop lu bishop me ikabero enoni remember la winvedio en ki Uganda kan so jami egini wengti temeki Kampala so manyoro ni enini tila dit endo la dit meni na chiel la dit meni na chiel fod ki nyala chieng be fod popor kita chike obiru kere so kare madong enoromo mwaka di mwaka ngwen kitero en ikev logo ki Lucifer logo ki dano mapol jomuta chene mogo chimoni chani mo loke chalo tuoli en mego me mwaka piara bichieli do binu do donyi kom endong and I do biru kadora and that's why I'm saying that our bodies are vessels. One day you will die, you're just going to come out of your body and your body is buried because it has to be kept. So gin macha tan timu bane pien miro chubo mirine donyi kom in o wakati wachini kachi ada ini tiemano itima bay tijay mokena miri bed mano iti very careful pien chatan onyo chen ramo donyi komi mini miri mo ni mekom enitamo ni in ento no vuruma eni bi vuru kila cho no chatan ayetika vuru kingate noni komini ayetia tich ento chatan ayetika no moje wego ke neno skati kakaro gineoni ile wego kala cho mo ikeno karo mai neno ni ti physical fitness mabe no chunyi tiye chamo kene no pe in no gin chani ti komiti kadoro in mabe kade tia ko furu tap miri moni pangate no ni dong ao no pe miro ngate no be pe miro dire chokere no chatan mati komini do chuvo miri neo racha tieni chamo kene ramo beru chiene makara beach weng no tikadoro in ngata chel maini furu kene ni not gitika poke o wero chamo kene initiation beru kumeno nge furu ki ngaru mwani chamo kene bene no ki breaking virginity niyo po beri yo me waro and then immediately they chago lego lek iti pi kamo iti ngolo kulu kamo beru chali tie wuni min kulu ento ti dago moma be beru chalu tiki ngo you know those things chamo kene lego lek mogo maraju attacks mogo. I want you to try to remember this from the very day when you slept with someone, especially if at all you've been having these dreams. If you've been having these dreams, most of them come after this situation.
At this point, you'll go back home and lots of people are now visiting your house.
Because the other woman, her powers have been
functioning
transferred now.
through.
So they know where this, they call me the baby, they call me the baby witch, where the baby witch is. So they can come for powers, for what and what. And I would say this sometimes, I fear to say, but I would say even some people in church circles could come to pastors and bishops.
iti winyone la winjwedo iti winyone enini no futi latin ba ento dong tero makimiyo kare enoni no duong ano tek makire dok pat so enway ni ot pa wone ene dong no dong loke dong chalo oriat surprisingly enti waini eno pemiro wajo ne ento bi wajo lukwadi padi angagi gichero kunu kanongo tero surprisingly
some of them could come to me for powers in their so-called ministries.
iti winyone no gichero bore me nongo tero me don ministries gi.
And so when I got born again, the Lord, actually the Lord led me to most of them who were still alive and could say, you remember what you are doing and you need to confess it, to repent and turn away. And
Did they listen?
So enti waini kare madong enolare obedo gi kare me chero bo jomo kene mafud kwa metero gi kama dati ye mirigunguri menu pastors mafud kwa eno bedo gi kare me chero bod gi ni gin ma no enti timune no peti mabe mirigunguri wa gudok bod luba.
They could say, I have the name, the big congregation.
Ni jomo kene gibiro kabako dogi ni jal loke ni dong petime pian ineno bene atiki dano maduong kono ngongo gi ket madong me chako timone no dong tek pienen ngeo ni kado chero ama ukwayo kijabolu ba olare odojo ukwero chatano dano wengo biao kikanicha
People will run away from me.
winyo dano wengo biao kikanicha
Tell you, I'm going to expose you. But the Lord told me now, expose them will not help.
You said you
ineno so chamu kene eno chalo wayo gini happy katika maling cha tiro nyingu wa bad luba wache ni tiro onyome wa dano ngi po bukonyo.
You told them you were going to expose them.
I'm going to expose them. But the Lord told me exposing them will not help. What help?
Luba wache ni uchekani katiki lok onyo katiki nyingi waro onyome tiro dano ma waro po bukonyo ya
is them to repent.
En miro ni dano eguni weng gukwa kija boluba.
But for years I feared. I knew how dangerous it was until 2016 when I shared my testimony.
So enway ni no en benetiki luoro pimwa kimapul nakaway mwagali bario kapara bichil ma enu katiki cha denman I don't no take twin kid.
No, I never shared my testimony until 20. What you heard, it was my first time sharing my life story.
Yeah, so just
eno mo cha den ma mege pitin ma cheli mwagali bario kapara bichil.
Just for breaking in the story here. So I got you the testimony you shared at Africa.
So la dita ni nitiwa ni jal pedaki ipie kamukene miri wa what mano ititiero lokeni ni kore ki kore so don't tipenye la penmo
Africa.
I got it maybe somewhere around 2017. Someone was there that heard the testimony and then gave me the CD, and I've lost it now. But I remember being so marked, not by this part of the story, but there's some
Where we're going.
and it was connected with intercessory prayer. I was so marked, and then as God will have it, I knew someone that knew you. And then they connected us, and here we are today. But this is just incredible to just hear how you were so deep in the occult and how you were helping even men who were serving God in quotes, but using demonic powers at 4, at 5. The wisdom you were dispensing to them, was it just flowing through you without you even aware where you got it from?
I don't know where it was coming from.
so la peny paladiti upenyo la peny maduong ata en kita en obedo gi kar meng'eno la kwate nini matitiero story nini ento dong tipinyo ni in ibedo ka konyo dano mapol, ibedo ka miyo rieko, ibedo ka miyo jing mapol. Like rieko enoni no bino mere komi ma ini ng'eyo onyo bedo ka time nini. So la kwat matimo ko chadeno waini en bene no pengyo kama teko netika aki ye.
You're just giving instructions and directions, and
Because at that time, when I left that place, that cave, the spirit world and the natural world could be before me 24 hours.
So en waini en bene pengyo kita no like teko eoni binu kere. But then ikare ma en owero cave chani. Kama eno vurieni na dek kilieli ngongo gi kama chol ma kiloro wiye la bon cham la bon maro pimo iken. En waini kare ma eno karo. En no beru ki kare meneno. Ilobo me chwiny kidong ilobo ma mwane. Weng no tie inyime command direct.
I could see them like I'm looking at you. So I could know people's past. I could know where they're coming from. And I could know what is done in secret. I could know who will be the leader, who will be the president, what will be done, who needs to, and all that. So like everything was there. I could see. In fact, it's when I got born again that the Lord cut that.
So in any eno tuero neno yo ilobo mechwiny kidong ramong'eyo ngomo time chon, ngomo bitime kidong ngomo bitime nyim. En ramo tiero bene ngamo bibiru president tijemi mukene mano en ramo wajo ni mati chwiny ento no en ng'eyo. So en waini ni okay kare ma eno lare kene ma eno ye Yesu Kristo chao lalane ene ye luba oloro lobo chanio
Because it was not God.
Yeah.
He had to
pien lobo chani no peti lobo mabe. So luba okwanyo.
cut that. And many people, when they get born again, who have been the occult, they don't want to let go that. So they confess Jesus, but still
Hold on to those powers.
because the powers, they have their advantages and what they think advantage.
So enti waini ti lutich paluba mukene onyo dano ma ye kom Yesu Kristo kadongo a onyo ma go accepting salvation mano actually chalo no giti ajwaki no giti ki powers chani onyo agenti pol kare ka gulare no pegi miro loro like lobo me chwin chani matiki tero marachi gimiro ni kagulare no food still gimiro what ki en ki jami wini weng mano chatano miyo gio. So no gimiro ni gibed gi kare bene me biro ki side enoni konongo agutia ko confessing Yesu Kristo chalo la lagi and gulareo but food still no go mogo tamgi ni gimiro what ki jami weng kare gi kare.
So the Lord had to lead me into years of deliverance to cut off that.
Now we're gonna touch the deliverance at some point, because that's a huge thing. Because many Christians don't believe deliverance is something that you need to have as a Christian. We'll deal with that later. So at this point, you're 6, you're 7, you're 8.
So
So la diti wa ini pian la kwat no dong TPA kom local deliverance but ngatuma peti penyeno wa ini kom wa work local deliverance local ni chao kom wa obedi kom wa dok chen manok kare mano inti mwa gabicha bichela biro.
I am 6, I am 4, now I'm doing that. When I'm 7, I am made a territorial witch.
So kare ma like ma enti mwa gabicha bichel enti mutao eguni miyo dano keru tero ngongo gi mon bieno gilunye gibero monero miyo tero timo ginango but then karma eno donyo mwa biro endong odugu onyo ke miyo tuero mebiru territorial witch dong tie ajwaka madit maloyo kabiro moni wawin kabiro ne.
Explain to us what that means.
In the,
So la dit ti penyo ni ketetwa ngoma lokenoni onyo ketetwa tere kong tin
Okay,
meaning
the king of
etingo.
darkness. It's about territories, as the church should have been.
So ilobo pachatan, it is all about territories. No ngarachila chiele loyo kabero moni. Kita chatan doro kede kene. Kita chatan doro kede kene. Yes, there are territories. Biru chalu ruodi. No ingeo ni ngateni ni doro kain, ngachani doro kamoni, ngachani doro kamoni. Menu kita chatan atiu kede tiche.
The church should have been. Now, each one has a territory. And in that territory, you have like maybe 5,000 or 7,000 witches.
Inano. Solo dirumatiki territories. Jo maloyo kabiro moni. Ebe no ni ngarachila chil maloyo kabiro ne. No chamu kene tika loyo. Ajwaki makaro gwakaliba beach aliba biro. Kumano. No ena yetika miyo tero bodgi. So en bene no ki mi medo kerune medugu territorial witch.
In a certain territory, who are submitting to your powers and to your altars. So you are like in charge of a territory. So I was in charge of southern Uganda. And
So en no loyo territory mati southern Uganda. Kupiny me Uganda. Ena no territory ma en loyo.
northern Tanzania.
Meno kupiny me Uganda onyo southern Uganda kidong kumalo me Tanzania. Iningeo area me Lake Victoria me binu wa Kampala. Kidong me aki Lake Victoria me dok piny i Tanzania. So kumalo me Tanzania kidong kupiny me Uganda. Ena ye no loro gene no loyo territory enoni.
So like that was a region which is called the Kagera Katonga region.
So kabero enoni kiluni Kagera Katonga region.
Kagera is a river. So they divide the
Enoni benetingo kulu.
nations by rivers or by mountains.
So gin chatan poro like malobo mapat pat kuntiu kingo kulu mapat pat. Chalo River Nile gi, River Katonga gi, nano. So dati tamo itino kany. So kitiu kipi ma ke winyo ni kitero ngarumo ni tepi, kitero ngarumo ni tepi. Those are the places they used to divide. One kai ni watiu kingo wangom no eneno ni Uganda gieko kany kono ngongogi. But gen kani wangom pa territory moni no kulu ayeparo. Kulu ayeparo. They use rivers.
Mountains. So
Kigori.
from this river to this river is your territory. So I'm made
So me
in charge.
chalo kiramo wachini me ake kulu man wa ikulu moni chani. Enoni nongo kabiru mamigi. Ina yeloyo kenyo. Ngat chani bene no kulu moni kuman me cheri kulu moni chani. Ina yeloyo kenyo. Onyo i got man me oikom got chani. No ina yeloyo kenyo. Kita chatan doro kede keneti kumano. So en notika Amadoro side me River Kagera Katonga region. Meno kupiny me Uganda kidong kumalo me gene me Tanzania.
Of that territory when I'm 7, the youngest. 7.
So ena ye oberu Latin mal alzin ngata tiri maloyo me beru ki territory. And ena oberu kadoro territory oni.
7.
And
Mano timu agabiro.
you say you were in charge of 5,000 witches?
Over 7.
Over 7,000.
And eno loyo ajwaki makaro alibabiro.
Witches.
Over 7,000. And I was meant that as a 7 years.
So en ki kwero en manoti mwagabiro me azina me mine me loyo territory enoni.
I was 7 years. So, and when you are made territorial leader in the territory, your first assignment is to destroy the one you are taking over from.
Wow.
So kit machatan tiyu kere jamine kadong in ki ilo romi me beru ngata loyo territory moni. manyoni mafut pe kwanyo kene mafut pe kwanyo komme kong miri nek ngat chani manoti kom enoni Roma chalo kano ki ilo romi mebiru like ngata loyo Uganda manyoni in pera motelo Uganda mapat kingo kong ma achel no miri nek ngata ti loyo Uganda yaka dong inde leo so gin bene kita gidoro kere kaberu giti kumano kaki waini ini doro kenyo no tiki ngatu mo chon mantika doro kenyo ngate noni pobi ngwejo kamo ubilwenyo ki ngate noni wain ngara chelu mwango to so manyuni in ngata nyen kadong kikeli miri nek ngat chani mano tie choni kade nero yaka de leo kenyo ichako doro kenyo kita no kimini kede manyuni peira mo kwanyo kome muleme ilwenya bene megamone ento nodun kimini twer.
So you have to destroy and kill all his priests and his witches, destroy everything, even him, for you to do that.
So enweni no miri nek en ngat matilo kenyo miri nek ajwaki kenyo yaka dong inde leo kade leo yaka dong inde ichako administration mamegi
like
jochani weng ne nero gyo
first act of murder, so to speak.
Yes, the first assignment, because the king of darkness is about destroying. The devil came to kill, destroy, and rob. So you destroy others for you to reign.
So chatano binu me kwalo me nek kidong bene me balo so manyoni in me beru kamoni nyo me nongo gimoni miritim kumano so gen bene kaki mini tuero me loyo kamoni kong ma cheri miri timbal miri bal jami miri nek dano miri kwal jami mukene.
So the one who is in charge knows if another one is coming, they're coming to fight and kill.
So ngat manoti kombene no ng'eyo ti chalo chik. No ngate no ni bene ng'eyo ni ka ngat manyien dong ti ka binu ka lweny ti ka binu ka nek.
So there's that destroying. So I take over the territories and they say this. I remember they would say, this boy is wicked. Others, like, they had that human side of their life, like pity and love, though they were in witchcraft. But now me, who didn't have any emotion, like raised without emotion, raised without a family, raised in bitterness, raised in anger, in rage, in all kind of hatred. So I could not feel anything like pity, like mercy and what.
So when you killed them, this you did it by spiritual movement, obviously, attacking them in dreams, sicknesses, all sort of things, and they knew they were in a battle with you,
with me. Because now,
so kipenyo style menek en nero ginini. So eno gawo mabe. Tuo ramo kelo teka gimoiken. Anjo chani benogi ng'eyo ni giti lweny.
They know another prince is rising, has to destroy the others.
So nogi ng'eyo bene ni kadong ichako komiti magoro tuo tieng'o gi nogi ng'eyo ni ng'atu kene dong tika bino mele kom. So no jomo kene miri kinegi no ngara chele miri yen yoni.
So they attack, you attack. And then if you are able to dislodge them, let them, when they die, then you take over the territory. So I took that territory for only 2 years.
Enwaini o kwanyo territory enoni pimwaki ario. Menu territory onyo kabiro me kupiny me Uganda kidonga kumalo me ama Tanzania. Odoro kabiro eoni pimwaki ario.
2 years, I had finished my assignment, and then I am made to be a trainer.
So madong eno tiago mwagario. Kimine dong rom me fonyo jomu kene trainer
of other witches,
of the now, or whoever wants to be trained.
Trained in anything.
And dong kimine tuero teka dong ngarumo eken. Memiyo amafony bo ngarumo eken mamiro doko ajwaga. Onyo mamiro beru agenti teka dong ini miro tero pachatan eno dong kimino tuero enoni memiyo fony
in occult,
In occultism.
in astral projections, in what.
So by this time, you're 9.
I'm 9.
so meno no dong en timwaka bung'wen madong ki medo ruome ni makikwanyo en me loyo kabiru me ku piny me Uganda southern gene northern Tanzania ni Kagera Kagera region meno ki medo ruomo kene me miyo fony dong about joma miero ama no tero pachatan. Okay, me timu down ama meneno like jimi mapul machatan timu me bira jwaka gi so ena don kimi yotwero me fonyo jomo kene.
I'm now beginning to be a trainer. As I said that my mother, though she had that mental problem, she kept thinking that she can break this and I become a normal child.
So anyway ni karibene eno biru kakare ki jami gini weng karibene miene no wiyo nywene madong wiyo bale food still no tikita money ni nino mo obibiru kikare men nongongo alagam ikom pero matikom latine.
By the way, I'm also going to school at the same time.
You were schooling.
So ikare majami egini weng titime latini onyokare ma enti mwaka bung'wen no bene kwano cheri school cheri gangkwan.
Well, how...
Atiki geni do tiniang pingo lotino mukene kidiero ki school. Eni chwalo latini i school kakwan dugu no kirepat. Dugu no time peniei pien lotino mukene kidiero ki school. So, enti wani no timu akabungwen ano bene cheri gangkwan.
You related to all the other children because you said earlier that no one wanted to play with you.
Yes, but my mother took me to school, and I remember most of my teachers in the earlier years, I could be in school like thrice or 4 times in a term. But surprisingly, all my school up to university, I was always the best.
So, henti wani mine uchwali school. Karibene chamu kene lutino degbere chokere pian. En lock money chani. Kinywalo urudi achel ditwol achel dano. So enwa ni ki school bana kichwale gere. Ba chamu kene ramo cheri school ni na rieken onyo ni na dek. But kao oipeny karo peny mabe. Machamu kene beni katino ena yoloy. So time kumeno wa university. Peberi gangkwan cha weng. Ento ka penyo bin karo biru among the best, but can only go to school maybe twice. Tiena dekunyo tiena ngwen no romo the whole time ento furubu karo peny.
But I was not attending classes. I could not attend classes, but I knew like I could go and write my exams and be the best without attending classes.
Wow.
And I can't tell how.
So enwa ni bene no chiero timu peny mabe ento en bene pengeo time nining pengeo kita time kire ento no pecheri class ka ocheri school bene chero ni na rio adeka ngwen ento ko oini no me peny karo penyo kati bene no ena yuloy ento en bene kita jemine time kire no bene pengeo pien timu agabiro timu agabungwen.
So I could, as a child, there's a part of me already that longed to be a child. You know, even when I grew up and I became born again, I found that I find so attached to children than there's like a bait.
So, Louis video. Cha wado tumo na nina na wachini ya bigi ko cha bungwen. Ko beri ni ti cha bungwen ki de kario. Angyo ni cha mukene no atamitini mirwa metekere. But chawapa no ladit big J no tikabino ki you may wake up with God and bitero wa chawa pau yario. Lokuwa meneno matini tika Kenya.